Hardy found himself in his old friend's office, waiting nervously for his turn. Rabbi William Goldberg, who had retired and then gotten bored, decided to start a counseling practice. He focused on helping couples with their marriage and relationship problems. Helping veterans had been satisfying, but the daily stress and memories of war were hard on him. After serving on active duty when he was young and then spending 25 years in the reserves, he retired with honor and full benefits. He truly felt that God had led him in this direction, and he did not want to let anyone down. Originally from New York, he had spent a lot of time in the South, so when he retired, he surprised everyone by moving to Montgomery, Alabama. He loved being close to the coast, but far enough away to avoid the worst of hurricanes. The mild winters also helped with his arthritis. He was a bit surprised by the size of the Jewish community there, but a friend told him they had been around since the late 1800s. It took some time for "Shalom, y'all" to sound normal to him. He remembered Hardy Wilkes well, one of his most interesting patients. Hardy was always smiling and friendly, which did not match his serious file. As Rabbi Bill peeled back the layers, he found a man who had a tough, stressful childhood with poor role models. Hardy's sense of right and wrong was weak during his early years, and even though he tried hard to improve, he would sometimes fall back into old habits, especially when stressed or upset. Rabbi Bill, as Hardy called him, worked with him for almost a year. Between physical therapy for his injuries and sessions with Major Stein, Bill taught him to play the organ. This helped Hardy focus his mind and reduce stress. He learned quickly and played with such emotion. It was like he poured his whole heart into the music. Playing for a few minutes before talking became their routine. Bill was surprised to see Hardy's new profession and marital status. Years ago, he would never have pictured Hardy as a lawyer in expensive suits or married to a beautiful woman, the daughter of the main owner of his firm. The term "married well" applied perfectly. But he wasn't surprised that Hardy had problems. That was Bill's specialty. He knew this was going to be interesting. They shook hands and hugged. Bill noticed Hardy's shaggy hair and short beard, which was different from the smooth face and military haircut he remembered. He didn't look untidy, just a bit wild. "So, Rabbi, living in the sunny South now?" Hardy asked. "Yeah, Hardy. What can I say? I'm hooked on grits. Try finding those in a New York kosher deli. There's even a great bagel shop around the corner. It's almost like heaven here." They talked about mutual friends for a bit before Bill leaned back in his comfy recliner. He found sitting behind a desk too impersonal. He liked to move furniture in and out based on the mood he wanted to create. "So, this isn't just a social visit?" "How did you find me?" Bill asked. "Major Stein told me. Just so you know, I see him twice a month for 3 hours, and yes, it's related to this." Bill made a mental note to call Stein. He knew Stein was still active military and felt there was something he was missing. "Hardy, I'm happy to help with counseling, but why come to me? It's almost a 2-hour drive. I'm sure there are good professionals in Birmingham." "2 reasons. I know you, and the drive will probably annoy my wife," Hardy replied. "Hardy, if these sessions are just to mess with your wife, leave me out of it. I don't need clients that badly. Tell me what you want and why you're here." For the next 2 hours, Hardy talked. He told Bill about Paris, what happened at home, and his reactions. Bill kept a calm face, but he was surprised by what he heard. Hardy spoke about how he tried to resist his wife's advances at first, their courtship, the arguments, and the lack of respect he felt from her. "Even without the cheating, we were going in the wrong direction. She made promises she never kept. I can't trust her anymore, and I don't want to keep worrying about when she might cheat again. It's better to break it off clean." "Tell me, Hardy, do you still love her?" Bill asked. "I'm tired of everyone asking me that. Yes, I do. But I'm hoping that with time I won't." "So you don't see a chance to fix things? Then why the sessions?" "Court ordered. I can't skip them. I'm hoping you'll see how hopeless this is and end it early." Bill leaned back and turned on the massage feature of his chair. He loved that chair. "Based on what you told me, I don't want to take on this case. It sounds like it will get ugly, and I don't need that hassle. But to be fair, give me your wife's number. I'll set up a session with her, too. After that, we'll decide, and just so you know, these sessions won't count towards your required visits. Take it or leave it, Hardy. Remember, you came to me." Hardy argued, but finally agreed. Gwen was frustrated by the traffic on I-65. The speed limit was 70 mph, but she was moving at 25. She had to smile, though. Hardy had outwitted her with the choice of counselor. JT was a bit annoyed, too, but they had agreed that Hardy could choose and hadn't specified the location. Bill hung up the phone, smiling. Mrs. Wilkes had called 3 times, which was a good sign. It seemed like one of the spouses was serious about the counseling. Even though she was 20 minutes late, she apologized as she walked in. The short, bearded man with the skull cap didn't match her idea of a counselor. Sorry, traffic was terrible. I'll plan better next time. Relax, Mrs. Wilkes. You're too stressed right now. Let's do some breathing exercises. Close your eyes. For 5 minutes, she listened to his calm voice and breathed as he instructed. When they finished, she felt much more relaxed. Thanks, Doc. Wait, what should I call you? Doctor? Rabbi? Counselor? Just call me Bill. I'm a licensed therapist, not a doctor. Do you prefer Mrs. Wilkes or Gwen? Nobody's called me Mrs. Wilkes in a long time, but Gwen would make me feel more comfortable. All right, then. Gwen, what do you want from me? The question caught her off guard. I want you to help me get my husband back. Why? Why what? Why do you want him back? Because I love him. I miss him. I need him. Excuse me for being blunt, but your husband said you cheated on him, disrespected him, and didn't keep your family promises. If that's true, it sounds like you don't need him at all. It sounds like he was just convenient for you. That's not true. I did neglect him, but it was because I was focused on a big project for a while. So you're saying that once your project was over, you'd be a loving wife again? What if a new, bigger project came up? Would you neglect him again? Did you ever plan to start the family you promised? You're making me sound like the bad guy. I was supposed to move to a new department. I would have been home more and we could have worked on our marriage. But didn't your dad, who's also your boss, push you into that new role which led to Hardy leaving temporarily? He told me you were angry, saying he and your dad made you change your job just to make you spend more time at home. Then when Hardy came back, he found you with someone else. I've already explained that. I was drugged and taken advantage of. Interesting choice of words. Were you more drugged or less drugged? I was drugged. He used me. I now realize I put myself in a bad spot, but it wasn't my choice. Even when drugged, I tried to stop him. Why didn't you press charges? You forget I'm a lawyer. It wouldn't have worked. I'd been with him before in similar situations, taking the drugs willingly. I probably wouldn't have won, and it would have hurt my family a lot. Admitting drug use would have ruined my career and embarrassed my family. It would have shown people who I really was. Tell me, Gwen, what kind of person are you? What were you like before this, and are you different now? She sat quietly for a few minutes, thinking. Before, I wasn't really grown up. I was just a spoiled rich girl pretending. My mom cheated a lot, and my dad divorced her. I lived with her for almost a year before going back to my dad, and she wasn't a good role model. My dad was happy to have me back and gave me whatever I wanted. I got used to getting everything without working for it. Hardy tried to show me how the real world worked, and so did my dad. He even begged me not to marry Hardy, not because he didn't like him, but because he didn't think I was ready. Were you happy with Hardy? Be honest? She frowned, thinking hard. Yes, overall, I was very happy. There were things I wished I could change, like everyone does. But when he looked at me with those warm gray eyes and that sweet, goofy smile, I melted. He loved me completely, and I knew it. When did you start pulling away from him? Who said I pulled away? He did. He said you seemed embarrassed by him and didn't think you were good enough for him anymore. Is that true? She lowered her head. Looking back, I guess there were times I wished he was more refined, less country. He didn't like the people I socialized with, thinking they were fake and boring. Sadly, I now see he was right. I didn't like his friends much either. Cops, tough kids from poor neighborhoods, his gym buddies. And I hated his paralegal, who still tries to win him over. They were scary to me, but at least they were real, and that scared me. I later realized that his southern charm was genuine, but also a bit of an act. He could turn it up or down to get what he wanted. It's one of the reasons he did so well in Boston. People would listen to him, see him move and talk slowly, and assume he was slow thinking. Next thing they knew, they would be left behind, not knowing what hit them. So, you're proud of him then? Yes, very. He takes on tough cases for free, thanks to my dad. He uses all he can to get justice for people. He only represents those he believes are truly innocent. Bill sometimes took on cases where he felt the punishment didn't fit the crime, even if the person was guilty. He had a great success rate. Have you told him you were proud of him? Not often. His cases were sad, and I didn't want to hear about them. Bill glanced at the clock. Mrs. Wilkes, we have about 40 minutes left, but I'm happy to stay a bit longer if you are. Let's make some coffee and relax for a few minutes. They got up to stretch and make coffee. Bill had bought some bagels from a local shop with different toppings. Gwen hadn't eaten much since lunch because she was nervous about the session. The bagel hit the spot. They joked that since they were in the South, he should have brought some biscuits instead. When they sat back down, Bill asked if he could go over what they had talked about so far to make sure he hadn't missed anything. She nodded. Okay. So far we've established that you were a spoiled child who didn't understand the real world. You got everything you wanted without trying or facing consequences. Now who are you today? Have you changed, and why? Gwen took a deep breath. For better or worse, I'm not the same person. I'm not a girl anymore. I'm a woman now. I hated my dad for sending me here and cutting off my money. I hated it here for the first few months, and I cried myself to sleep many nights. I almost ran out of money for food and gas. But then I started learning. I made a budget and stuck to it. I've always wanted to succeed thanks to my dad, so I worked hard at my job. It was very different from dealing with rich people to dealing with troubled kids in a small, bad-smelling room. I learned to spot liars from scared kids. I put away drug dealers, thieves, and violent people. I knew they would hate me, but I did it anyway because it made society safer. I got good at it and became known for being tough but fair. The biggest change came from meeting my family. I was an only child of an only child, so I had no family except my dad. My mom had a sister, but I hadn't seen her since I was 8. At first, it was my husband's family, his grandfather Joshua Hardy, and many Wilkes relatives. I started having Sunday dinners with them every other week, and they accepted me. Some might have been upset with me for what happened between me and my husband, but they didn't show it. It was one of the happiest times of my life. These people weren't trying to climb the social ladder or push an agenda, they just accepted me as family. Suddenly I was Aunt Gwen, loved by young and old alike. Then I met my great-aunt. Did I mention my grandmother was from Birmingham? That brought even more cousins into my life. I'm now related to almost everyone in a 4-county area, including some of the black families. That's a story for another time, but the point is, I came here as an outsider and stayed as family. I didn't tell my dad, but whether or not things work out with Hardy, I'm never going back to Boston. This is my home now. She sat for a while, emotional. Bill could relate. He had been asked many times if he was related to various people. At first, he found it annoying, but soon realized that family ties were as common as talking about the weather here. The point is, I've grown up. I'm willing to take responsibility for my actions. The actions of a foolish girl aren't the same as those of a mature woman. I know I may never get him back, Bill, but I need him to see that if he does, he's coming back to a new, better woman. I don't want the old marriage back. I want a better, stronger one. Please help him understand that, and no matter what happens, I'll always love him. Bill was convinced enough to take them as clients. He wanted one more session with each of them separately before meeting them together. His parting comment was, "Tell Hardy not to miss any sessions, and yes, I'll make sure the individual sessions are included in the agreement." Rabbi Bill called up Major Stein for a long talk about Mr. Hardy Wilkes. They agreed that Hardy was a work in progress and should be watched closely. Major Stein thought for a while, then picked up the phone. Hardy had canceled his next session, saying he would be out of the country and couldn't make it. Maybe now was the time to talk to someone else. He had mentioned talking to Hardy's wife. Hardy was hesitant, but agreed if it was necessary. "Mrs. Wilkes? Good morning. You don't know me. My name is Ben Stein. Actually, Major Stein. I'm working with Hardy, doing follow-up from his military time through the local VA. Hardy agrees that I should meet with you. He can't make his appointment this week, and I wondered if you could take it instead. You will? Great. Let me give you the address. You can find it online. It's Friday afternoon, if that works for you." Gwen decided to take the day off. Her work was light because of the big Escobar case, and she had some vacation days left. She told her boss, Paul, that she had to leave town suddenly. He agreed without arguing. Maybe she just needs a break, Paul thought. It might do her some good. Gwen's dad had put $10,000 in her bank account. She had told him about her counseling schedule and her visit to Major Stein. When he learned she was going to drive 7 hours to Fort Stewart, he insisted she fly. Daddy, I can't afford the plane ticket, rental car, or hotel stay. You can now. I'll put the money in your account. Think of it as a gift from a worried dad. If you had let me release the trust fund, we wouldn't be having this discussion. I have my reasons. It's important to me to finish this year. It's only less than 2 months. I'll take the money as a loan and pay you back. He agreed, feeling proud. The flight to Savannah was normal. It had been a year since she last flew, and the small plane made her nervous. The Lexus she rented didn't feel right either after driving her Focus for so long. It felt even stranger on base. She had never seen so many people in uniforms in one place. She wore a modest dress, but her looks still drew attention. Luckily, the building was easy to find. Major Stein met her in the lobby and took her to his office. Don't worry, we won't be disturbed. Can I get you something to drink? No, thank you. Drinking too much wouldn't help my nerves. He tried to comfort her. This is just an informal talk between two people who care about your husband's well-being. How is he? Do you talk often? She laughed. No, I had to take him to court to get him to talk to me at all. We are starting marriage counseling. A friendly judge helped with that. I hope it will work out. Can you tell me how he is mentally? You deal with veterans with mental issues, right? Instead of answering her question directly, Major Stein asked, Mrs. Wilkes, has your husband been in any fights lately? Physical fights, I mean? He had a fight with a cousin recently. Beat him up pretty bad. It was a family issue. Was it about you? Yes, his cousin and another man threatened me. The man he beat up grabbed me, but not in a sexual way. Anything else? Not that I know of. She didn't know about the fight in the cell. Mrs. Wilkes, what you tell me is confidential. Can you describe the events leading to your separation? Don't leave anything out, it might be important. Gwen shamefully told her story again. Before what happened, was he ever physically abusive to you? No. Once I almost got hit by a car, and Hardy pulled me back so hard I got bruises on my arm. He said sorry for 3 weeks after that. Until that morning, in almost 3 years together, including dating, he never even raised his voice at me. Of course, we had arguments, but he was always calm and reasonable. That morning, he seemed like a different person. How much do you know about his military service? He told me he served twice in Iraq, including the invasion. I know he got hurt because I've seen his scars, but he doesn't talk about it. Mrs. Wilkes, much of what he did is classified, so I can't go into details. Your husband has special skills and was very good at his job. He could have been an officer. His quick thinking about troops and terrain was amazing. But he didn't work well with others. Many were afraid of him or thought he'd get them killed. Once he focused on a task, nothing could stop him except killing him. We tested your husband in many ways, physically and mentally. We put him through different stress levels and measured his responses. Your husband is very unique. Do you know the term fight or flight? Good. When someone feels threatened, adrenaline goes into their blood. This helps them decide quickly to fight or run and gives them more energy. Your husband's adrenal glands can release 6 to 10 times more adrenaline than normal. It's rare. Researchers have found it mostly in Scandinavians and people from the southern U.S. No one knows why. It might explain stories about Viking berserkers and rowdy rednecks. People on too much crystal meth can break their own bones and not feel pain. That's how much energy they get. It's called Hulk syndrome after the comic book character who turns into a beast when angry. That's your husband. He was fine until your infidelity triggered his condition again. He's on medication to reduce adrenaline, and he hates it but takes it. He paused to let her understand. She then asked, why is the military involved? No charges were ever filed and everything was kept private. He tried to sound comforting. We're the military, Mrs. Wilkes. We have our ways. Our main concern is your husband's well-being, ensuring he's not a threat to himself or others. Do you think he's dangerous to society? Not really, as long as he keeps taking his medication and avoids stressful situations. Do you think he can do that? Life is stressful by nature. I think if he continues to see me for a while and you both work out your issues, he'll be okay. Bill Goldberg is a great therapist, and more importantly, your husband trusts him. I wish you the best. You know, he really loves you. If anyone can help him stay balanced, it's you. You just need to get him to trust you again. By the way, do you know why your husband is in Mexico? I didn't know he was out of the country. We aren't sharing much about our lives right now. They talked for another hour, with him asking questions and her responding with her own. He told her about how he rescued some troops trapped in a small valley, sharing every detail. She felt ashamed because she didn't know he had 3 Purple Hearts, several commendations, and a silver star with oak leaves. It was another important part of her husband's life she knew nothing about. Feeling mentally drained, she went back to her hotel and took a nap. When she got up, she dressed and wondered how to spend her evening. She took a walk by the ocean, something she hadn't done in a year. The waves were calming. She ate at Paula Dean's restaurant, Lady and Sons. The food was good, but she found herself missing the taste of homemade meals from Sunday dinners at home. Food made by someone you know with love seemed much better. Back at the hotel, she decided to have one drink at the bar. She hadn't had alcohol in quite some time. The bar had a band that just started playing. She sat down and listened to a couple of songs, tapping her foot. The place was packed. Hunter Airfield was nearby, and Fort Stewart wasn't too far away. So, Savannah was the largest city around, and it was bustling. Gwen had guys crowding around her, asking her to dance and buy her drinks. She kept saying no until her neck hurt from nodding. Then a short woman with red hair came to the bar next to her. She nodded at Gwen while waiting for her drink. "It's pretty cruel, you know," she said out of the blue. "What?" "Coming in here looking like that and turning the guys down. They're far from home, lonely, and let's face it, they're young guys. You're new, and rejecting them is like teasing a starving dog with food it can't reach." Gwen felt uneasy. "I just wanted a drink and then back to my room." "Got a man up there waiting for you?" "No, I'm in town for work. I'll be gone tomorrow." "Then why not stay a while, dance a bit, give the boys something good to think about? It might be fun." "That's what I'm afraid of. I've made bad choices when trying to have fun. I'm fighting to keep my husband now because of that. We're finally talking again, and I don't want to ruin it." "Do people here know your husband?" "Some do. As I said, my days of messing up are over. I have too much to lose." The woman held out her hand. "I'm Anne." Gwen shook her hand. "Nice to meet you, Anne." "Nice to meet you too, Gwen. Sure you can't stay a bit? I could use a buddy." The band started another set, and a tall young man who looked like a soldier came up to Anne, asking her to dance. "Sorry, soldier, not this one, but my friend Gwen might. Just know she's married and plans to stay that way, so no funny business, got it?" The way she said it made the guy almost stand at attention. "Got it, ma'am." "Good." She turned to Gwen. "I'll get us a table and watch your purse. Go, dance. He'll behave, I promise." So Gwen danced, and she enjoyed it. When she reached the table Anne had found, people were gathered around. Anne handed Gwen her purse. "My turn." Gwen watched Anne dance, amazed at how graceful she was. Some bought drinks for them, but when they saw Gwen wasn't drinking, they stopped trying. When Anne came back, she took their purses to the bartender for safekeeping. Gwen looked puzzled. "Thieves hang around military towns like vultures. Now we can both dance without worrying." So they did. Gwen only danced 2 slow dances. One was with a boy who looked very young, and he couldn't keep his hands to himself. She finally pulled away and returned to the table. He didn't ask her again. The other dance was with a man in his 50s, another traveler, and he was very polite and a good dancer. He wore a ring, and she had never taken off her wedding rings, so she felt safe. She kissed his cheek and thanked him. He smiled and squeezed her hand. She ended up dancing all night. It was a welcome physical release. Before she knew it, the night was over. The band stopped playing, and everyone was drinking their last drink. Anne watched her, making sure she was safe. Gwen finally gave in and had a few more drinks. The boys had kept buying drinks for her, hoping to relax her, but most of them sat untouched on the table. Now that the night was over and she was heading to her room, she quickly downed a few more, getting quite tipsy. When she stood and began to sway, Anne quickly steadied her. "Come on, sweetie, let's get you to your room." That seemed like a good idea, so she put her arm around Anne's waist and found her room card in her purse. Anne led her to the elevators. The ride-up was quiet, and Anne saw that Gwen was starting to cry. "What's wrong, Gwen?" "I miss my husband, darn it. He should be here with me, not you. We used to go out like this. I'd get all excited and he'd take care of me. Now I'm excited, alone, and sad. I need to tell you I don't think he'll ever come back." She was sobbing, clinging to Anne like she was her lifeline. Anne patted her back, trying to comfort her. Both of them had too much to drink, so they stumbled down the hall, supporting each other. Anne dropped the keycard twice and they practically fell through the door, giggling like children. Gwen looked at the minibar. "Want one last drink?" Anne grinned. "One more can't hurt, right?" One more drink turned into 6, and by then Anne knew she couldn't drive. Gwen was almost passed out. Anne helped her to the bathroom, undressed her, and put her to bed. Anne looked at Gwen. She had been attracted to both men and women for many years, but mostly liked men. Sometimes, though, a woman's touch was nice. She started to undress, planning to use the other bed, but changed her mind. She wasn't going to do anything while Gwen was passed out, but maybe waking up next to her would be nice. Plus, it was better than sleeping alone. As Anne pulled the covers back, Gwen's purse fell and spilled its contents. She picked it up and saw a picture of Gwen with a man who looked familiar. Holding it up to the light, she realized who it was: Hardy Wilkes. This was the wife everyone talked about. Anne was glad she hadn't tried anything. It could have been a disaster. Still, she was lonely and Gwen was there. It would be nice to at least sleep beside her. She got into the bed and Gwen immediately snuggled up to her. Anne fell asleep with her arms around her. She woke up in the night to find they had turned over, and now Gwen was holding on to her. It felt nice, and she tried to ignore the temptation before falling asleep again. The next morning, Gwen's scream woke Anne. Gwen was sitting up, clutching the covers. "What happened last night?" Anne thought she'd have a little fun. "You don't remember? You were amazing, the best I've ever had. Songs should be written about you. You just kept going. Where did you get the energy? I know we just met, but is it too soon to talk about love?" Gwen screamed again and ran to the bathroom. Anne gave her a moment before following. She found Gwen crying. "Gwen, Gwen, nothing happened. I was just joking. You were drunk. I was drunk, and I didn't want to sleep alone. You hear me? Nothing happened." "We were in bed together, honey. People tend to cuddle. The touching didn't mean anything. I was asleep." She stuck her tongue out at Gwen. "Unless you want it to mean something, I'm bi, and I promise you'd have fun." Gwen tried to push Anne out of the bathroom, but Anne wouldn't go. "Gwen, stop! I'm just teasing. Geez, being hungover makes you grumpy. Nothing happened. Nothing is going to happen. Calm down." "Do you want to shower first, or should we do it together?" Gwen slammed the door in Anne's face, making her laugh. After showering and getting dressed, Gwen felt better. Anne showered too, and they talked afterward. Sober, Anne was witty, smart, and down to earth. "Are you really bi?" Gwen asked. "Yes, does that bother you?" "Not really. I might not see you again, but I'm curious. What's it like with another woman?" "I can't explain it. It's like trying to describe what an orange tastes like to someone who's only had apples. It's usually gentler and more emotional, at least for me." She had a mischievous look. "I could just show you." Gwen's answer surprised her. "I've thought about it. I had a friend in college who chased me. I almost gave in a few times. If I was single, I might take you up on it, but I still want my husband back. If it doesn't work out, give me your card. Maybe I'll call you." Anne quickly handed her a card. Gwen looked at it. "Captain Anne Burnside, U.S. Army." "You're a soldier?" "Yes, I've been in for 12 years. What do you do?" "Intelligence, and that's all I can say." It was too late for breakfast, so Anne took her to a place that served brunch. Things were fine until Anne ordered a mimosa. She saw Gwen's face. "What?" "Nothing. I just have bad memories with that drink. Please enjoy." Anne insisted on seeing her off. At the airport, she held out her hand. "Thanks, Gwen. It's been an adventure. Hope your life is good." To everyone's surprise in the waiting room, Gwen pulled the smaller woman close and gave her a bold kiss. Then she let her go and stepped back. "There, that should give you something to think about. I'll never forget you. I hope when you find someone, they appreciate you." She laughed and walked away. Anne thought, if anyone could handle Hardy, it's her. The Escobar case was getting serious, and Don Vincente was worried. He had tried to put pressure on the DA and the police, but got nowhere. Bribery didn't work either. It was time to take bigger steps. At first, he thought about targeting the arresting officer. But the cop was an experienced guy, had no close family, and was very tough. Each time contact was made, the cop reported it to the DEA, who wanted to take over. Next, Vincente thought about the DA and his team. Since direct pressure didn't work, it was time to be sneaky. His first sneaky attempt failed badly and got 2 of his men arrested. He knew Gwen had a history with drugs and planned to use it against her. He decided to put a lot of cocaine in her car and secretly tell the police. That would get her off the case and buy him time. His people watched her closely. She had a boring routine, only leaving home on weekends to visit her husband's grandfather for one night. Her apartment had cameras, but he had the technology to get around them. They decided to hide the drugs in her car when it was dark and stormy. They easily opened her trunk and placed a bag with 12 ounces of cocaine under the spare tire. The bag had her fingerprints on it, taken from her trash. What Vincente didn't know was that Gwen was also being watched by Hardy's team. Hardy had hired 8 men, mostly his cousins, to keep an eye on her. Most of them were ex-military. They had their own vehicles, and Hardy bought more cars for them as a reward. They all had powerful engines. 2 people watched Gwen day and night from different cars. They were good at their jobs, and no one noticed them, but they noticed everyone. So, they saw the night 2 men went through Gwen's garbage and took the bag with her fingerprints. They also saw when the men put cocaine in her trunk. Once the men left, Hardy's team carefully took the drugs out of Gwen's car. They split the cocaine into 2 bags and hid them in the cars of the men who had planted the drugs. Don Vincente wanted lots of media attention, so he informed the local news that a well-known public official was about to be arrested. Feeling confident, he watched from a limo the next morning as Gwen arrived at work. Police surrounded her car while news crews filmed everything. Gwen had no idea why and was very angry. Because she was well known, they didn't put her in handcuffs but had her wait in a police car. They found no drugs. When Vincente realized there were no drugs, he angrily told his driver to leave. Suddenly, an old truck blocked them from the front, and a big SUV blocked them from the back. Vincente panicked. This was a tactic he used to get rid of enemies. A young man in a suit walked up, placed an envelope under the limo's windshield wiper, waved, and left. The truck and SUV drove away. Vincente's driver was frozen in shock. "Get me the envelope!" Vincente shouted. A bodyguard opened it, and a small firework went off, sending some confetti into the air. Everyone, already nervous, jumped when the firework popped. Inside the envelope was a note saying, "Back off." The police were embarrassed and issued a statement apologizing for the false report, warning against wasting police resources. On the news, the announcer said, "In related news, a local man with a lengthy criminal record was arrested after police found a large amount of cocaine in his car. He denies knowing about the drugs." A foreign national was also arrested on Interstate 65 South with a similar amount of drugs. The DEA is interested in both cases. The local TV station manager spoke out, calling for law enforcement to stop the spread of drugs from across the border. The next day, almost every newspaper in Birmingham had the same editorial. Public opinion was rising, driven by a political group with a lot of money. Things were getting tough for the Escobars. At first, Gwen didn't know she was being watched. She was mad about the false report, but soon forgot about it. One night, she was leaving the Chambers, a favorite bar for lawyers and court officials, when 3 men appeared. 2 grabbed her, and the third covered her face with a hood. Just before the hood covered her eyes, she saw a blur of blonde hair rushing out of the dark, followed by yells and screams. Someone grabbed Gwen and started carrying her away. She tried to scream, but then a hood came off her head and a man put his hand over her mouth. "Be quiet now, Aunt Gwen. I gotta get you out of here." Those words made her stop struggling. She put her arms around his neck and cried. The man placed her in the back of a van. Another man she didn't recognize quickly checked on her. "You're okay, Miss Gwen. Calm down now. We've got you." "Who are you?" "We're family. That's all you need to know for now. We're taking you to Grandpa Hardy's house for the night. You'll be home by tomorrow morning, all right?" Aunt Hildy welcomed her in. She put Gwen in bed and sat by her until she felt calm. "What's going on, Aunt Hildy?" "Child, don't ask me to reveal a secret." "It's Hardy, isn't it? He's watching over me." Hildy smiled. "In the words of a famous politician, I can neither confirm nor deny that." "But how did he know when to be there?" "Let's say there's a man who loves a woman very much, even if he does nothing about it. Let's also say he's determined to keep her safe. This man has a lot of money left over because of the woman's silly actions, and he spends some of it to protect her. Hardy's okay, isn't he? He didn't get hurt protecting me?" Gwen spoke quickly. "I don't think so, honey. Your cousins didn't say, so I assume not. Now go to sleep. Ham and eggs for breakfast." After a restless night, Gwen tried to eat the big breakfast Hildy made, but couldn't finish it. However, her new cousins had no trouble eating it all. As Gwen hugged them goodbye, she felt a lump at Joshua's side. When she pulled back his shirt, she saw a large gun on his belt. "I want the truth. What have I gotten you into?" Joshua looked a bit embarrassed. "Well, child, when you can't get to someone, sometimes it's easier to get to their family. We'd rather be safe than sorry. Don't worry. Take care of your business and it'll be over soon." She noticed more cousins around than usual. "How many does Hardy have watching Grandpa and Hildy?" she asked as they drove off. "Enough. Some you can't see. They'll be fine." When he dropped her off, he walked her inside. He gave her some advice before he left. "You'll see me and a few others you might recognize from time to time. Don't talk to us or show that you know us. Remember, when this is over, we'll all be gone." One more question. How did Hardy know they would try something last night? "He didn't. He was just getting an update from us. It was just the right time, right place." She hugged him and asked him to thank the rest of his team for her. Karen talked to her at lunch. "Hear what happened last night at the Chambers?" Gwen was glad she had her mouth full, giving her time to think of an answer. "No, I was there last night but left early. What happened?" "There was some sort of fight in the back parking lot. When the cops came, they found two men beaten badly. They wouldn't talk, so the police held them for a few hours and then let them go." "What were they doing in the parking lot?" "The police think it was a drug deal gone bad. Drugs are everywhere these days." Gwen agreed. "Yeah, it's just not safe anywhere anymore." As they got up to leave, she asked how Karen's counseling sessions were going. "We got the individual sessions done, and our first joint session is this week." "I hope it works out for you. Will Hardy be able to drive by then?" "Why wouldn't he be?" "Well, Grandpa told me this morning that his arm was sprained and he had a nasty cut. It took 18 stitches and 6 staples to close up. He's got his arm in a sling. Grandpa said he fell off a tractor while helping Joshua." Gwen felt a bit faint. "Grandpa also treated another guy, a Mexican fella. He had a broken leg, broken arm, and several cuts. He fell off a tractor, too. Dangerous things. Tractors." Things got worse. One of the cousins who wasn't even involved was beaten pretty badly. In response, 6 of Don Vicente's low-level dealers were found in a stolen van with a large amount of drugs, all taken from his couriers. Don Vicente had to fly to San Diego to get a new supply line. His mini-war was costing him millions. The DEA and local law enforcement seemed to know about shipments before they even left the country, and very few big shipments were getting through. A Coast Guard ship acting on a tip seized one of his boats with 10 million in cocaine and marijuana. He had a leak, a serious one, that he needed to plug fast. The other cartels thought he was losing his touch, and they were closing in on his business. He had always enjoyed San Diego. He was talking to people, discussing routes and schedules when someone mentioned a local lawyer. "You might want to hire him. He knows what we do and doesn't care. In fact, he's a customer and even invested some money. He's pretty smart when he isn't high." Allan Hovis hated his life. Forced to keep his word, he had moved west, finally settling in San Diego. He had resumes out to all the major law firms, but the few interviews he got led him nowhere. He was actually hired twice, but turned them down when he discovered he had to take a drug test. His funds dwindling, he opened his own office. It was terrible. He went from riding in jets to international destinations to chasing ambulances to the local hospital. His luck seemed to change when he defended a mid-level drug dealer, getting him off on a technicality. The dealer gave him an ounce as a bonus, and Allan asked about investing. He had $70,000 left from his settlement. He was allowed to invest $50,000 on the promise he would defend the dealer and his friends when they needed it. From time to time, Allan needed money. Sometimes he won, sometimes he lost, but he always tried his best. They still paid him. His first bit of money had grown to almost $200,000. He didn't touch it. His aim was $10 million. Then he would retire on an island, buy a nice house, and furnish it with fun and carefree days. One day, Don Vincente met Allan. Allan wasn't high, but he had just enough to feel stable. Allan was scared of him. Don Vincente had a powerful presence. "Diego speaks well of you. I'm doing some business here. He said you might help me sometimes." Allan smelled opportunity. "Diego is kind. I help when I can. I would be happy to help a friend of his." "Thank you. My business has hit a small problem on the East Coast, so I'm looking for solutions here. Your local people are tough and don't listen to reason sometimes." "I understand, Don Vincente. Last year I had trouble with a rough guy from the South. That's why I came west. But if I ever get the chance, I will make that man and his wife sorry they met me." Don Vincente was in a good mood and had a bit too much to drink, so he spoke freely. "Ah, yes, never forget your enemies. After this trouble is settled, Mr. Wilkes and his wife will regret knowing me." Allan almost choked on his drink. "Wilkes? You mean Hardy and Gwen Wilkes? Yes, do you know them?" "Yes, Don Vincente. They have caused me trouble, too." Don Vincente laughed. "Well then, you know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? I think we can be friends, Allan. Let me tell you about my trouble with the Wilkes family." He told Allan a quick story about his issues with the Wilkes family. "I have tried many things to solve this, but nothing works. Every time I think I have a bit of power over them, they stop me. What would you give me to solve this for you? You would have my forever thanks, plus a great financial reward. Your dream to retire would come a lot sooner if you can do this. Consider it done, my friend. I will leave for the East Coast tomorrow. Is there anything else I can do for you?" There was something else. Allan didn't know, but his car was filled with drugs. Don Vincente liked to do many things at once. He gave Allan $10,000 to drive and told him to pay cash at small gas stations and diners to avoid cameras. It would look like he never left the state. The one-on-one sessions went okay. Hardy already knew, but Gwen learned quickly that Bill didn't allow lies or half-truths. Bill wanted the truth and wouldn't stop until he got it. After the sessions, Bill went over his notes and waited for their next session. Gwen arrived 15 minutes early, never wanting to be late again. Hardy was already there. "Good. We can start early since you're both here. Here's what's going to happen. I'll do a lot of talking at first, then you'll each get a chance to speak. Stick to the topic or the session ends immediately and it won't count. Do you understand? Hardy?" "I get it, Bill. Can we start?" "In a moment. Gwen, do you understand?" "Yes, Bill. I'll follow the rules." "Good. Now for the next few minutes, I'm the only one talking, okay? I want to go over some things from your solo sessions and start my therapy." He paused and looked at them. They sat in chairs on opposite ends of the room. Gwen tried to move her chair closer, but Bill stopped her. "Please leave the chairs where they are. There's a reason. First, you two come from different worlds. Next, you're almost half a generation apart in age. Your values during your marriage were very different. You're almost opposites in everything except two things. One, for some reason you love each other. Now, Hardy, don't get upset. I didn't say you have to stay together, just stating what you both admitted. Two, and most important, you don't know each other at all. You never really met. You both went into marriage based on lies and half-truths. We're going to change that. The rest of today, maybe more sessions, will be spent introducing yourselves to each other. Think of it like a first date. You're interested, or you wouldn't be here. So let's start with introductions. Hardy, get up, go over, shake her hand, and introduce yourself. Go on now." Hardy looked like he was walking to his doom. Bill urged him. "Go on, Hardy, speak up. The lady is waiting." Gwen stood up. Hardy stopped in front of her, not too close, but not far. "Hello, my name is Hardy Wilkes. How are you this evening?" His voice was flat, but clear and direct. "I'm pleased to meet you, Mr. Wilkes. I'm Gwen Canada. I feel better tonight than I have in a long time. Thank you for asking." She held out her hand. "Don't be rude, Hardy. Shake her hand. It won't hurt you." Bill was smiling, but they couldn't see it. Hardy looked like he feared his hand might get cut off. Gwen took his hand gently, holding it for a moment. Good, good. Now, please sit. Would you like to ask her some questions, get to know her better? I bet she's fascinating. Remember, first date questions only, nothing about past relationships. He was about to ask a question when Gwen started talking. I'll go first. My name is Gwen. I'm a lawyer. Right now, I work as an assistant district attorney in Jefferson County. I grew up in Boston. Can you hear my accent? It used to be stronger, but people still notice it. I'm 27. I was homeschooled as a teenager and started college just after my 16th birthday. I didn't take breaks between semesters, so I got my law license when I was 22. I worked for my dad at his firm, Canada and Associates. Maybe you've heard of it? He's a fifth-generation lawyer. It's a family thing. She took a breath, worried she'd said too much. Great, Gwen. Now, Hardy, why don't you tell Gwen a bit about where you grew up and maybe respond to what you've heard? Hardy took a deep breath, thinking about his words. I've heard of Canada and Associates. They have an office here, too. It's a respected firm. I know Greg Canada personally. He's a fine man, someone to be proud of. I've heard his daughter was a bit spoiled, but you can't trust rumors. Bill was about to step in, but Hardy continued, noticing Gwen's reaction to his last comment. As for me, people around here called my family poor white trash. My mom was unfaithful, and my sister followed her lead. My dad was a petty criminal, and I followed his path. Luckily, some friends got me into the military. I served 2 tours in Iraq before being discharged. I had physical and emotional therapy, and somehow I became a lawyer. I have many relatives around here. Some are good people, others not so much. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. No one knows where I'll end up. I'm sure you'll land on your feet. Despite your past, you've made something of yourself through hard work. I admire that. I see your arms hurt. Are you okay? Gwen's voice was filled with concern. Hardy laughed. I'll be fine soon. It was a farming accident. It doesn't pay to be careless with dangerous equipment. Did you damage the equipment? She asked with a smile. I did knock some paint off and broke a few parts, but they got fixed. Bill stepped in to steer them back on track. As interesting as that was, let's stay focused. Maybe I should ask the next question. Gwen, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Career, relationships, where you'll live? That's easy, Bill. I see myself in a loving relationship, happily married with a child or 2, maybe even 3. I plan to stay in this area because I have family and friends here. Career-wise, I don't know. We won't need to work for money, so I might become a housewife until the kids are older. I see my husband as a gentleman farmer, provided he stays away from heavy equipment. She smirked. And you, Hardy? What do you think of that plan? I must admit that's not how I see it. You seem too focused on your goals, maybe too self-centered to be ready for a family. Before Bill could interrupt, Gwen responded. That was true a year ago, but my priorities have changed. My extended family has become important to me. Thinking about others' happiness means I worry less about silly things. I love my job, but work won't hold you at night and tell you everything is okay. That's more important to me now. Bill observed the exchange closely, noting Hardy's changing expressions from sadness to frustration to disbelief. Time for a change. Hardy, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Hardy shrugged. With the way my life is going, I might be dead in 10 years. If not, I hope I'll still be practicing law, and maybe have people around me who love me. There's a small chance I might have someone special, maybe even kids, if I'm not too old. Who knows? Bill checked the clock. Well, it's time to stop. Before next time, I want you to think about something. Write it down if it helps. Define love, not in an abstract way, but your personal definition of love. We'll compare your definitions next session, and then read them to each other. See you next week. Gwen stayed behind as Hardy left. Do I have a chance with him? Bill gave a non-committal reply. That's not for me to say. Good night, Gwen. Allan was grumpy. 2 days on the road. A ticket in Texas for going too fast. There went his low profile. He managed to talk the cop down so he didn't have to go to court, promising to pay the fine. There was a good party in Phoenix, though. He didn't want it to end. 2 hours from Birmingham, he called Gwen. Don Vincente had given him her number. Gwen, baby, what's up? Miss me? She knew who it was, but asked anyway. Who is this? It's Allan, baby. Ready for some more fun? I don't know how you got my number, and I don't care. Lose it and never call me again. I hope you have a horrible, awful life. She hung up the phone. He called back right away. Wait, before you hang up, I need to say something. I have pictures of you using drugs in Paris, naked with a straw up your nose. We need to talk. She sighed. Another guy trying to mess up her life. Get to the point, Allan. What do you want? Well, this is about business. Thanks to you, your dad, and that jerk you married, my life is terrible. But I've made new friends and started a new job. Meet me and I'll explain. She agreed to meet him at a truck stop outside town. After hanging up, she called the judge, explaining quickly. I can't let Hardy know Allan is here. He'll kill him. If Hardy finds out, he'll misunderstand everything and never take me back. What should I do? JT, though weak, was still sharp-minded. Call him back. Change the meeting place to this address. Say whatever it takes to get him there. After she hung up, JT called his son-in-law, Will Robb. Will, you're about to have a big problem. He explained everything, and they made plans quickly. Hardy was leaving the courthouse when his cousin, Deputy Ebb, stopped him. Hardy, come with me. Don't get mad, but I need to put handcuffs on you. Make it look like you're under arrest. I'll explain later. Will Robb said it's important. Hardy wasn't happy about the cuffs, but he trusted Will and knew he had his reasons. It was almost twilight when they arrived at an old, run-down farmhouse. Weeds grew tall and the place was falling apart. There were 3 cars already there, Will's, Gwen's, and a red Corvette Hardy didn't know. He felt his heart pounding, the adrenaline kicking in. He had stopped taking his pills until he finished dealing with the Escobar kid. Ebb turned the car, and Hardy saw Allan. Speaking quietly but intensely, Hardy said, Ebb, take these cuffs off me and let me out. Hardy, Will said to keep you here. He'll explain soon. JT is with him. Gwen is safe. Try to stay calm. I need out right now, Ebb. Do it. Then Will came over. Hardy, stay calm. Gwen called us. She said this guy was threatening her and she was scared you'd find out and get the wrong idea. We just need to talk to him, then we'll send him away. It'll be over soon and we can all go home. Allan felt scared. The police didn't seem friendly, and the old man looked really mad. He wished he hadn't agreed to meet in such a remote place, but he thought he could still use it to his advantage. He planned to show her the pictures, make her mess up the Escobar trial, and maybe get something out of it. But when the cops came, everything got worse. Every time he looked at Hardy, he remembered the pain he had felt. He also had snorted some drugs before meeting Gwen to feel more confident. There was still some in his car, and he'd be in big trouble if they found it. The sheriff approached, making Allan uncomfortable. When the sheriff started talking, Allan jumped a bit. Mr. Hovis, I've heard bad things about you. Coming here, threatening someone from our town, that's serious. Do you know how much time you could get for blackmailing someone here? The prison in Huntsville would love you, being a Yankee and a lawyer. Some might even think you're pretty. Those guys really like blondes. Suddenly, Allan's plan seemed dumb, and he looked for a way out. Feeling bold from the drugs, he tried to bluff. Hold on. I was just here to say hi to an old friend, share some memories. I don't know what she told you, but unless I did something illegal, I should be going. He pointed at Hardy. That man already attacked me once. I couldn't fight back because I was with his wife at the time. You're weak, Wilkes. You can't match me in a fight. I'd love to show you up in front of your woman. Oh, wait. She was with me, so I guess she's mine. Hardy leaned back and kicked the car door hard. The door held, so he kicked the window several times. It started to bend, but didn't break. He switched to the other window, and after several kicks, it shattered. He tried to climb out, but Ebb and Will pushed him back. He was red-faced and almost screaming. JT used a strong, authoritative voice, hitting the Corvette's hood with his cane. Enough. Hardy, calm down right now. You, Yankee boy, shut up. If you say one more word, I'll tell them to let him go. I'll defend him myself, and he won't do much time in a mental ward. You'll be dead, so no one will argue about it. If you want to live, listen to the sheriff. Mr. Hovis, if it were up to me, and it is, I'd arrest you right now. Here's the revised version. But since things could get bad really fast for some good folks around here, I'll give you one chance. They'd get hurt, and you'd still end up behind bars. Get in that shiny car of yours and get out of my county. Don't come back. Ever. This is your only chance. Take it before I change my mind. He was a bit high, but he was clear-headed enough to know it was time to go. Don Vicente wouldn't be happy, but he'd find a way to make it right with him. They told him to empty his pockets, and as he did, he noticed his cell phone was missing. It had important pictures on it. He needed it back. "Where's my phone?" he asked. Gwen smiled. "I'm so sorry, Allan. It must have fallen off your car, and I stepped on it. Oops, send me the bill for a new one. Now leave and have a lousy life." She had crushed the phone into bits. He thought about trying to fix it, but the sheriff told him to leave it. Hardy was still struggling, and the dog in the deputy's car wouldn't stop barking. He left as fast as he could. Hardy calmed down after about 10 minutes. The dog kept barking. "What's wrong with Belle? She's been going crazy since you got here," the sheriff said. Ebb smiled at his boss. "I bet there were drugs in that car. A lot, judging by how Belle's acting." "Interesting," said Will Robb, taking out his phone. "Coy, how are you? Ready for the election? That state trooper wants to be sheriff bad, and he's got some rich friends backing him. Still got that tough-on-crime stance? Still not fond of Yankees, lawyers, and drug dealers? Good. I've got news that could help you. In about 30 minutes, a big blonde guy in a shiny red car will drive through your county on Route 65 heading north. I got a tip he's carrying drugs, but it came too late for me to stop him. Yeah, I keep getting tips left and right. Someone must really hate those drug dealers, and it's helping me. I was thinking about retiring next year, but if this keeps up, folks will not let me go. One thing, Coy. You didn't hear this from me. I don't want my source to get mad. They might have more information. You're welcome. Say hi to Myra. See ya." He hung up with a big grin on his face. "Well, folks, I've done my good deed for today. Time to go home. Dinner's waiting. Hardy, you're going to pay for those windows. And you're welcome. Good night, Miss Gwen. See you in court." Gwen tried to explain things to Hardy, but he just stared ahead. Sighing, she gave up and left. An hour later, Allan was still angry about his failure. He pulled over at a rest stop and did a few lines to calm down. It helped a bit. Suddenly, blue lights flashed behind him. Seriously? First Texas, now this? He looked down and cursed. The speedometer showed 95. Pulling over, he was about to put on a sad face when another police car pulled in front of him and another pulled beside him, boxing him in. 2 deputies and a state trooper drew their guns and told him to get out of the car and lie on the ground. 10 minutes later, he was handcuffed in the back of a police car when the sheriff and 2 DEA vans showed up, followed by news crews. This was serious. One DEA van had 2 dogs, and they were almost tearing his car apart. He got a really bad feeling. It was all over the news the next morning. The announcer was almost laughing with joy. A traffic stop last night turned up a surprise. Allan Hovis, a lawyer from California, was pulled over for speeding. A search found drugs in the car. It was taken to the DEA lab in Montgomery, where 9 pounds of cocaine were found hidden in the car. There are rumors he's linked to a Mexican drug cartel, adding to the growing drug problem from the South. They held Allan in a secure cell, saying it was for Homeland Security because cartels sometimes work with terrorists. He was in deep trouble and he knew it. He told everything he knew after getting promises of safety. The DEA agents told him he was safe, but they knew if the cartel wanted someone dead, nothing could save them. They just hoped to keep him alive long enough to testify. Don Vicente was furious. He knew the weak character of the California lawyer. He would definitely talk. It might be a good time to go back home for a while. He didn't like his nephew much, but he had promised his dying sister he would keep him safe. Plus, it was now a matter of pride. Losing this would hurt his power. He was at his wits' end when a new opportunity came up. A man who might be useful contacted one of his men, was checked out and found interesting. A meeting was set up. Don Vicente disliked Ronnie Wilkes right away. Any man who would betray his own family was not to be trusted. But Ronnie had a plan that might work. Look, we both know you can't get to his wife. She's too well protected. But the person he loves most, his grandfather, has a routine. Every 2 weeks, he and Aunt Hildy go to town. She shops and gets her hair done while Hardy gets a haircut and buys farm supplies. Then they meet for lunch at the diner. He's at Tommy's barber shop by 10. He'll have 2 guys with him. One waits outside while the other goes in. That's where we can get him. I'll have a car ready in the back alley. I'll tell him there's an emergency and we need to leave right away. We'll get him into the car before he knows what's happening. He won't suspect anything. I'm family and he thinks I'm helping. What do you want? Ronnie looked uneasy for the first time. I need good money for my guys, enough to leave town and start over. and I want to work for you. I think I can be useful." Don Vincente agreed to everything, knowing he would never trust a traitor. He was right. When all this first started, Hardy went to see Roy. "Roy, you know trouble is coming. Your business will get hurt, and I can't stop that. The law will come down on everyone. Before things get worse, tell me how much your crew makes each month. Don't lie to me." The number was smaller than Hardy expected. "Okay, here's the deal. I'll pay you that amount plus 10% to lay low for the next 2 or 3 months. I'll also need some of your guys to watch a few people. I'll pay extra for that. Can we agree?" They could and did. All activities except bookmaking would stop. He had commitments to important people from New Orleans he couldn't break. Roy surprised Hardy. "You know, I would have done this for nothing. We're family." Hardy was moved. "Thanks, Cousin Roy, but your business will suffer because of me, and I can't live with that. Family matters." They shook hands. Will Robb dropped by Hardy's office. "Got a minute?" Hardy pointed to a chair and had Crystal make some coffee. "What's up, Will?" "First, Bonnie is coming to town for a few days and wants to see you." Bonnie was his daughter, a couple of years younger than Hardy. Hardy brightened. "How is the state senator? Tell her to name the time and place. I'll let her give you an update on her life. I'm sure she'll call." Will sat silent for a minute. "Spit it out, Will, before it gives you heartburn." "I see what's happening. I think I know who's behind all the tips we're getting. Still not sure where the info is coming from, but as long as they keep coming, I don't care. When the bad guys go quiet, it makes me nervous. Thank goodness for the small-time crooks. It gives my guys something to do. Bad things are coming. I want your word that regular folks won't get hurt. Keep your fights private, and I won't need to start asking hard questions. Got it?" Hardy grinned. "Will Robb, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if we were in that situation, I'd make sure no one else gets hurt. Happy now?" "As happy as I can be, I guess. Hardy, I like you, but every time you're around, my life gets harder. I'll tell Bonnie to call. Thanks for the coffee." It went off without a hitch. Ronnie rushed into the barber shop just as Joshua got out of the chair. "Joshua, we need to get you out now. I got a car waiting out back. They're watching the front. Roy found out they were going to grab you. Let's go!" He led him through the back of the shop, the young cousin following. "Quick, behind you." The young man turned, and Ronnie hit him with a blackjack, knocking him out instantly. Joshua started to fight, but Ronnie hit him again, making him dizzy. Hardy got the email with pictures 45 minutes later. Joshua was tied to a chair with a big lump on his forehead. The message was short. "She screws up the trial, or he dies. Reply by 10 tomorrow." Hardy felt his anger rise and welcomed it. It was a long night. His first move was to get Gwen out of town without them knowing they had Joshua. 4 cars left town. No one knew which one she was in. Outside of town, they picked up 4 more cars, split into pairs, and went in different directions. The next morning at 9 a.m., Don Vincente got a response. There was a picture of Raul, beaten almost beyond recognition. The message was short and clear. "Call this cell before 11 or Raul dies at noon. No one can protect him." Don Vincente checked the prison. There had been a near riot, and Raul was the only one seriously hurt. Security was tight, and the rumor was someone would die at noon. At 10:30, he made the call. "There will be a man in a black truck in the Piggly Wiggly parking lot on 9th. Follow him, bring as many as you want, but one of them must be my grandfather. Be there by 4. Raul lives until 6 unless I get what I want. You'll get more pictures at 2 as a reminder." The call disconnected. Don Vincente was uneasy. No chance to negotiate, no threats, no discussion. His face went white when he got the next pictures. His wife and twin daughters laughing at his villa in Cozumel. The timestamp was 45 minutes ago. 5 big SUVs followed the truck out of town. They drove down a quiet 2-lane road until the truck stopped at a gate. The driver opened it, signaled them to go through, then locked the gate and left. A well-kept lane led through fields and sparse woods until it stopped by a pond. 2 oak trees stood beside the pond with picnic tables in the shade. The area was clear for 400 yards, with plowed fields and short wheat growing. Hardy sat under the trees with a fishing rod and cooler beside him, a beer in his hand. He stood up and put the bottle on the table. 18 men got out of the vehicles. 16 of them carried weapons like Uzis and shotguns. Don Vincente walked forward, trying to keep his cool. Before he could lose his temper, Hardy spoke up. "Please sign this and give me $100. It was a contract for Hardy to help in defending his nephew. "This gives us lawyer-client protection. By law, I can't tell anyone about this meeting. You see how this helps." Vincente handed over a $100 bill and signed the paper. Then he exploded in anger. "You arrogant fool! How dare you threaten and harm my family? I will enjoy watching you suffer." Hardy let him rant. When he calmed down, Hardy said, "Beer bottle." It broke into tiny pieces without a sound. Hardy looked at the surprised faces around him and smiled. "Silencers are great, right? And these earbuds, you'd be amazed at their range. Look at your chests." Vincente looked down and saw 3 red dots on his chest. He glanced around. "They're in the tree line." "That's over 400 yards!" he exclaimed. Hardy grinned. "Yes, 3 of them are ex-military snipers. One even holds the record for the 3rd longest kill, almost 900 yards. The rest are just local guys who grew up hunting deer. You can't see them, but 3 more are much closer. Don't worry, all I want to do is talk. I just needed your attention. Tell your people to stay calm. No one needs to die today. How about you and I sit down in the shade and have a beer? But first, send Grandpa across the field. You don't need him anymore. You have me. I promise. Unless you start something, there will be no violence today." Vincente said something in Spanish. One of his men opened the door and Joshua and Ronnie got out. "Dang, Ronnie, they got you too? Well, help Grandpa across the field, will you?" Hardy had heard his grandpa curse before, but never like this. "He's in on it, boy. He's the one who got me, gave me this bump. He's the worst kind of traitor. You don't expect this from family." "That true, Ronnie?" It was said quietly, but Ronnie saw the threat in his eyes. "Well, not exactly, Joshua cut him off. "Yes, exactly, ask him." He pointed at Vincente, who nodded. "You know how it is. Use any tool to get the job done." Hardy looked at Ronnie. "When this is over, we're going to talk." Ronnie felt a chill down his spine. "Old folks said that happened when someone walked over your grave." "Enough family chat. Don Vincente, if you would." They walked to the picnic table and watched Joshua head into the trees. Hardy opened a laptop. "Look at this." It was a video of Vincente's villa. His family was on the beach, looking around for something. They started pointing and laughing. A large remote control boat was racing through the waves, shooting fireworks from its smokestacks. There were 3 packages on the deck. When it reached the shore, the bodyguards pulled it in, laughing. The women and 2 children opened the packages. Hardy watched, horrified. "Relax, Mr. Escobar. You just sent your family a loving gift. They knew it was coming, just not what it was. There's a note in your wife's gift, apologizing for being away so much. The girls, aren't they beautiful? They got gold lockets and new top-of-the-line smartphones that work internationally, so you can tell them good night no matter where you are in the world. Your wife got the same phone and a very nice emerald necklace. I won't embarrass us by telling you what it cost, but your note said she was the moon and stars to you, and this was just a small gift. You're going to get a warm welcome when you go home. And if you're wondering, the note is in your handwriting, even using the pet name you have for your wife. Here, this one is yours. I know you'll check them out, but they're all clean. She'll be calling in about 30 seconds. The phone rang before he finished talking. Vincente held it like it was a snake, then put it to his ear. It was his wife crying, saying how wonderful he was, how much she loved him, and asking when he was coming home. She also said he'd get a special welcome home gift. Then his children called, one after the other. Hardy smiled. "Family is wonderful, isn't it? I don't know what I'd do without mine. Now, down to business." Those presents could just as easily have been bombs. "I don't have your money, but I have some. Part of it is in a fund that can only be accessed by me or 2 agents. If something happens to me or my family, your family dies. You get to live, to remember it." Vincente stared into his eyes. "You're a monster," Hardy answered, matching his tone. "We're both monsters, Mr. Escobar. What you and I can do is beyond most people's understanding, yet we can do it and sleep at night. If we keep going, people who have nothing to do with this will die on both sides. Let's stop it now. What do you suggest? Let the kid take a plea deal. He's a punk, and you know it. He's used your name so much that he thinks he's untouchable. Today should have been a wake-up call for him. He's 20. He could be out in 8 years. Maybe he'll grow up, or he might end up as someone's victim, but I'm sure you'll make sure he's protected. This little war has cost you what? 30 million? And it's only getting worse. Your California lawyer is probably spilling the beans. Heard from Diego in San Diego lately. You won't. Cut your losses, fix your broken bridges, and rebuild your business before it's too late. Promise me, and all this trouble will go away, at least on my end. Vincente was shocked by how much he knew. He decided, if I promise, will you trust me? Yes, I would. I've done my homework, and it seems your promise means a lot to you. Let's shake on it. He held out his hand, and Don Vincente Escobar, feared by many, took it. He knew this man was not afraid, and he would keep his promise. Standing up, he told Hardy to have Gwen prepare the agreement. He would ensure it got signed. They walked back to the cars. Ronnie stood there in shock as they loaded up. "No!" he yelled. "He's supposed to die!" He raised his shotgun, but a man with a cane knocked it out of his hands. The man had a cast on his leg and a sling on his arm. Hardy thanked him. He pulled off his shirt, showing a fresh scar on his chest and a smaller one on his neck. The group also saw many old scars and bullet wounds. Their eyes widened. "Tell him he's a tough guy and almost got me." Someone translated, and the man smiled. They shook hands. Vincente looked at Ronnie. "Do you want him?" "Not now. Too many witnesses. Ronnie, run. If you stay, I'll hurt you slowly. Got it?" Ronnie nodded and climbed into a car. "One last bit of advice. Leave now. Don't go back to your place. The DEA is closing in soon. Don't use your jet. They're watching it. Make other travel plans now. Goodbye. I honestly hope I never see you again." Vincente thanked him and drove away, heading south. Hardy never saw him again. As they drove away, Vincente saw men in camo suits rising out of the fields and a line of men coming out of the woods. He was very grateful no one had done anything foolish. He pushed Ronnie out of the car at the edge of town, and Ronnie watched on his hands and knees as they sped away. Gwen was shocked when the Escobar lawyers wanted to talk. She was even more surprised when they made a deal. He got a long sentence but could get out in 7 years. All the tension and drama suddenly went away. Somehow she knew Hardy was behind it. Her year was up. Paul and Karen begged her to stay, Paul even hinting she could be the district attorney when he retired in 2 years. She was tired. The last 20 months had been interesting, to say the least. She saw a different world and mostly liked it a lot. She promised Paul she would think about it, but was going to take some time off to recharge. The counseling had its ups and downs. She didn't notice it at first, but the chairs were moved closer gradually, and one day they were gone, replaced by a sofa. They were closer than they had been in a while, even if it was strained. The next session saw the sofa replaced by a small love seat. She often wondered what he was doing. She used the internet, buying enough items to keep things interesting. 2 sessions ago, she brought it up with Bill's encouragement. He was curious, too. She told him about her items in a one-on-one session when he asked if she was seeing other men. "Until I'm divorced, I'll never be with another man." She carefully brought up the topic to Hardy, saying she was never going to stray again. He shocked them both by laughing. "You love being intimate, Gwen. Do you really think I believe you're going without?" He laughed even harder when she told him about her items. Finally, she said in anger she could wait as long as he could. That started a fresh round of laughter. "You've already waited almost a year longer than I have. You broke the marriage in my mind when you cheated. I've had a steady partner for the last 10 months. I held out for a while but figured if you were doing it, what difference did it make if I did too? Before you ask, it isn't Crystal. You don't know her. She doesn't even live around here. I'm not in love, and neither is she. But we get along well. She's fun, smart, and pretty." Gwen was almost in shock. Hardy with another woman. How could he? She lashed out. "You need to stop this nonsense right now. I'm more than willing to be with you. All you have to do is ask. The sooner, the better." "Sorry, Gwen, stomp your foot all you want. I may have already ended it. I may still be seeing her, but you won't know, will you? How does it feel, wondering? Welcome to my world the last few months of our marriage." It was too much for Gwen. She rushed out of the office. When she didn't come back in 5 minutes, Bill went looking. Her car was gone. "She's gone. You really hurt her, you know. I'll apologize when I see her next, but not for what I did. She broke the marriage, not me. You're not going to make up, are you? I don't see it happening. Yes, she's grown up. Yes, she's more mature. Yes, I still love her, but really, Bill, how much has she changed? It's been almost 2 years and she won't let go. As far as the marriage is concerned, she's still saying, I want. She should have realized by now I can't forgive her, not for the cheating, but for the disrespect. Bill sighed. He thought they were going to make it. All right then, next session will be the last, but promise me you'll tell her what you told me as gently as possible. Are you still seeing the woman? No, she ended it with me suddenly. # simplified and neutralized story. She said she was starting to have feelings for me, but it didn't feel genuine. Still, it was fun while it lasted. He really missed her. He was sitting at the bar, sipping his drink and keeping to himself when she approached him. She had short red hair, was cute, and had a nice figure. The band was taking a break so they could have a real conversation. Why aren't you dancing? I've seen at least 4 girls ask you, and you turned them all down. What's the matter? She asked. He smiled. Maybe I can't dance. Maybe I'm not interested. Or maybe I just like minding my own business. She smiled back and didn't seem offended. I doubt all of that. I bet you can dance, you don't seem uninterested, and maybe I like getting into your business too. She held out her hand. Ann Burnside. Actually, Captain Ann Burnside, U.S. Army. Hardy Wilkes, Sergeant, U.S. Marines. Sorry about the Army thing, but I bet you're still a good person. She laughed. That remark will cost you a dance, soldier. Come on, let's dance. The band started playing again. She was right. He was a pretty good dancer, which was surprising given his size. He was a whole foot taller than her, but they fit well together when they danced slowly. They laughed, danced, and had a few drinks, but didn't drink too much. Others seemed upset that he took up all her time, but no one dared to say anything. She seemed very happy to be with him. During the last set, he got up. I'm going to my room now. He walked away without another word. She sat there, surprised. He didn't even say good night. She got her purse and headed towards the door. He was standing there. About time. I was about to give up on you. Come on. He gently led her to the elevator. She stood there while he opened the door. He waited for her to enter first, but she just stood still. He took her arm gently. Maybe this was a bad idea. Let me see you safely to your car. No, I want to be with you, but you make me nervous. Why? Have I done something wrong? Made you uncomfortable? Are you afraid of me? Yes. He was surprised. Why do I scare you? My job has made me good at reading people. I usually figure them out quickly, but with you, I can't tell. You seem nice, you behave well, but there's something beneath the surface. You could be dangerous. Interestingly, you're not the first to say that. But I assure you, I've never hurt anyone who didn't try to hurt me first. Well, except one time, and that was an accident, but I understand. Give me a kiss goodnight, I've surely earned that, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. They spent a lot of time together, sleeping and talking. He told her about his marriage. The girl sounds spoiled, but she seems to be growing up. Are you going to take her back? His look made her want to comfort him. I doubt it. I still love her, but I just can't get over it. Maybe it's just me. I'm not trying to push you away. I'd love to see you again. But think about it. Maybe she's a better person now. You might want to give her a chance. He just grunted and pulled her close. They agreed to meet when he came back in 2 weeks. Soon, she couldn't wait until Friday. They became pretty close. When he didn't spend the night or weekend with her, it hurt, but he always made it a point to take her out for dinner or to a club. Sometimes they even spent some private time together quickly. The weekends were the best. They didn't spend all their time in the room. They did touristy things, went down to Florida, visited Amelia Island once and Jacksonville twice. They read with interest about a local district attorney and his troubles with a drug cartel. The man seemed larger than life and was often pictured with a stunning woman by his side. Hardy looked at the latest story and mumbled something about being able to relate. Their conversation later took an unexpected turn. They were lying in bed, feeling relaxed. She felt him pull away and lean up on his arms. She opened her eyes to see him looking at her in a way she had never seen before. Anne, honey, in all the time we've been together, have I ever asked about your work or asked for a favor? No, we rarely talk about our jobs. I thought you worked in construction. I was surprised when I found out you were a lawyer. What's on your mind? I need to find a man, someone with specific skills, a dangerous man who is loyal to the job he takes. He should know Mexico well and be comfortable working there. Can you help me? She sat up against the headboard. Are you looking for a dangerous person? Yes and no. I don't want anyone hurt, but I need him to be ready to do whatever it takes to get what I want. And I need the people I deal with to know he's prepared to act if needed. What are you into? No, don't tell me. I think I'd rather not know. But I have a feeling this has to do with your wife. Wait, I've changed my mind. Tell me a bit more and I might help you. He told her about his wife's situation and how he planned to help her. You may not get this, Anne, but until the divorce is final, my family sees her as still connected to me. I can't let anything happen to her. They might take matters into their own hands and then I won't be able to control them. It could get bad real quick. Innocent people, ones who don't know what's happening, could get hurt. I don't want that feeling in my mind. Can you help me? If not, I'll go find people in Mexico myself. Can you give me a few days? I could get in trouble for helping you. Sure, and if you have any doubts, don't help me. He gave her a big hug and went into the shower. She sat on the bed, admiring him as he walked away. She knew she would try to help, hoping she wouldn't put him in danger. She was smart. You had to be for her job in military intelligence. She had looked up Hardy a lot after they first met. The info made her uneasy. He didn't match the happy, funny guy she knew. But she trusted herself, and her first thoughts about him were pretty accurate. Taking a risk, she quietly talked to some farm boys, saying it was just for research. That weak excuse got her in trouble with her boss. Knowing not to lie, she told him everything. He frowned, made a call, and she ended up in Major Stein's office. She told the story again. He rocked in his chair, thinking. Then he became serious. Could you find someone who fits his needs? Yes, sir, I already have. He looked at her closely. Your relationship with Mr. Wilkes. Explain it. We're close. You might call it friends with benefits. I only see him when he's in town. I've never been to his home or met his friends and family. We care about each other, but we know there's nothing long-term. He's going through a complicated divorce, and I'm in the Army for at least 8 more years. Do you know why he needs this person? Not really. It has something to do with protecting his soon-to-be ex from some drug people, I think. He leaned back, fingers touching each other. Do it. She almost didn't hear him. Sorry, sir, could you repeat that? Do it. Connect him with your guy, and keep an eye on Wilkes. If he looks like he's about to do something risky, tell your boss. Anne looked worried. Sir, I don't know if I can spy on him. He interrupted her. Of course you can. You knew this would get back to us. You wanted us to ask you so the situation would come to light. You'll keep an eye on him with our help. We don't need details, just useful information. Go now, you have your orders. He sat back, pondering. Hardy, what are you up to now? Maybe Bill knows something. So the Army closely watched what Wilkes did next. They got a lot of information about the Escobar cartel, especially their North American contacts. Some tips even helped other agencies. Hardy never knew, and Anne made sure no one slipped up. Then, by chance, while Hardy was in Mexico meeting the person she found, she ended up drunk in a hotel room with his wife. Anne didn't believe in coincidences, and decided fate was telling her to end things with Hardy. She did it the next weekend in her usual direct way. She knew he suspected something, but he was too kind to say. Instead, he made their last time together special. As she watched his plane leave, she sat in her car and cried, wondering what if. The last session with Bill was very intense. Gwen tried to stay positive, but Bill stopped her. Gwen, Hardy has something to say. Please listen and try not to interrupt. Can you do that? She nodded, feeling scared. Hardy moved a chair close to her. He held her hand gently. When I was in Iraq the second time, I had to meet a local leader. My interpreter and I saw a pre-marriage talk to 3 couples. The speaker was slow, making sure everyone understood. We had to wait, so my interpreter explained. I still remember the words. My children, marriage is like a temple, held up by 3 columns. Love, trust, respect. If one of those columns falls, the temple shakes. If 2 fall, the temple crashes. Love is the strongest, held up by respect and trust, because if either of those weakens, love can't stand. Do you get it, Gwen? I still love you deeply, but you broke the temple. You broke my trust with your lack of respect. I believe you when you say you've changed and grown. But as a grown person, you should know this marriage is over. But you're still acting like a spoiled child, saying, I want. I'm sorry, but it won't work this time. I won't come back to counseling. Bill knows. This is it. I'm leaving the papers here. If you really have changed, sign them. He kissed her on the cheek before standing up. Goodbye, Gwen. She sat there, too shocked to cry. He was really gone. She looked at Bill. Is it really over? I'm afraid so. For what it's worth, there were times I thought you two would make it. But why? I've changed. Didn't he see that? Yes, he did. He once told me how proud he was of how you grew up and became close to the family here. Then why? Bill sighed. What he was about to say would hurt, but he hoped it would help her understand and maybe find some peace. First, let me say he still loves you. He really meant it when he told you that. But Gwen, look at it from his side. You meant everything to him. You showed him he was a good person worth being happy. Your choice to be with him made him incredibly proud. Then, when you started ignoring him, acting like you were ashamed to be with him, his perfect world started breaking apart. When you cheated, it destroyed him. He told me in his alone time that it proved no one gets above their raising, meaning people return to their roots when things get bad. What he did when he caught you with that man shocked him deeply. In that moment, the world he had worked so hard to build was gone. In his youth, trust was everything. You know his past, so he had to trust the people around him completely. A broken trust could have serious consequences, so he learned to be very careful with whom he trusted. You betrayed him in his mind in the worst way. I know we've talked about it several times, but could never get you to see. Sign the papers, Gwen. Give him some peace. Then the tears came. She cried for Hardy, for herself, and for the future she lost with him. In the end, she signed the papers and left them with Bill. She did what any young woman does when faced with deep hurt. She ran home to her father. Greg comforted her as best he could, sad that her marriage dreams had ended. She stayed for 2 weeks, visiting old friends who welcomed her back warmly, but she was now wise enough to wonder if they were truly happy to see her. Not one had called or visited during what they called her exile. They seemed empty and shallow to her now. She couldn't bear to live in her townhouse, too many bad memories, so she took a suite in a fancy hotel. The more people served her, the more annoyed she became. Finally realizing her true friends were back in Alabama, she told her dad she was taking a little vacation before she went home. He understood, realizing his hope of her taking over the firm was probably gone, but glad she was looking for her own happiness. The idea came to her while she was moving things from her old purse to a new designer handbag she had bought out of boredom. A card fell out, Captain Ann Burnside, U.S. Army. She called, and to her surprise, Ann answered on the second ring. Ann, this is Gwen. Remember me? Gwen could hear the smile in Ann's voice. I always remember beautiful blondes I meet. How are you? Divorced, lonely, distracted. I need a break and some company from someone not linked to my past. Can you get some time off? I'd love to go somewhere warm with white sand beaches and clear blue water. Please come, my treat. What do you mean by company? Whatever happens. I don't have anyone to answer to but me now. I'm not leading you on. Expect everything and nothing and you won't be let down. Well, what an interesting offer. Let me call you back this afternoon. When's good for you? I'm not working right now, so anytime soon is fine. Ann hung up. It was an attractive offer. She did a little checking and found that while the divorce wasn't officially filed, it was signed. With some leave time due, she decided to go for it. After a few calls, they decided to leave the next Wednesday for 4 days. Gwen wouldn't tell her the destination, wanting to surprise her. Ann wanted to know what flight they would be on, and was surprised when Gwen told her it would be a private jet and gave her the time and runway. Did I mention I'm a trust fund kid? Don't worry about a thing, this is all on me. Ann was impressed with the jet, but blown away by Gwen. A new hairstyle, a much shorter skirt, 4-inch heels. They kissed as friends. Once settled in, Ann asked where they were going. Oh, just a little resort in the islands I used to visit when I was single. The place was beautiful, everything a tropical paradise should be. The suite was impressive, 2 bedrooms, top of the line, everything. What's first on the list? Gwen grinned. Shopping! I need a few new swimsuits, and we need some really cool clothes. We'll look amazing in the lounge tonight. The resort had several upscale shops, and with money being no issue, they spent freely. Anne got her first surprise when they looked over swimsuits. Where are the tops? The salesgirl and Gwen smiled. Sweetie, these beaches are topless or nude. No one wears a full suit, but if you're shy, I'm sure they could find you something. They picked out several tiny swimsuits, so small they might as well have been naked. Anne told Gwen she needed razors if she was going to wear them. Gwen just smiled, and after hitting the shops and picking up a few dresses and lingerie, they spent the day at the spa, being waxed, massaged, and pampered. Anne decided being rich wasn't so bad. Even in a place full of beautiful people, heads turned when the tall blonde and petite redhead entered the restaurant. They ate well, promising to spend time in the gym the next morning. They danced freely later, getting everyone excited, and even danced together a few times. Anne felt the connection between them. Gwen was drinking hard, so Anne kept an eye on her. There were a lot of disappointed men when they went back to the suite alone. She helped a very drunk Gwen undress and get into bed. She looked at her sleeping, gently stroking her hair. Gwen was still very upset about her marriage ending. She wasn't sure if she really wanted this weekend. Whispering everything and nothing, she took off her clothes and cuddled next to Gwen. Gwen quickly snuggled in close. Before sunrise, she got up to use the bathroom. When she came back, she pulled back the sheets and stood there looking. Anne moved a bit and talked. Come back to bed, honey. I'm cold. That feels so good, baby. Keep doing that. Gwen woke up suddenly, holding Anne close. Was last night a mistake? Why did she feel like she was doing something wrong? No, she thought. He pushed her away. She was free now and could be with anyone she wanted. She started crying softly. Anne woke up and felt her tears on her shoulder. Turning around, she hugged Gwen while the crying turned into sobbing. She held her, whispering kind words. When Gwen calmed down, Anne asked, Do you regret last night? No, not at all. I just realized it's really over. I'm single now, so it shouldn't matter who I sleep with, but I still feel so guilty. Sweetie, it's okay to feel this way. You didn't choose to be single. I know you still love him. But it's all right. You'll move on. You might even find love again. You're young, beautiful, and have lots of money. Just give it some time. I know you're right, but it doesn't feel like it right now. Thanks for being here. Want some breakfast? They took a shower and ordered breakfast. Then they talked. How did last night make you feel? Anne asked. Happy, content. You were my first woman, you know. I never thought it would be so intense. Anne smiled warmly. Oh, honey, it just gets better. I'll show you so much if you want me to. For the next 2 days, they ate out, sat in the sun, danced, and enjoyed each other's company. Gwen went back to her small apartment. She planned to buy a new house soon, but for now, she wanted the comfort of her familiar space. She visited Aunt Daisy often and helped her with family research while Marcus was at school. She spent almost every Saturday with Joshua and Hildy, making sure not to mention Hardy. They understood, but sometimes his name would come up. Once she overheard some female cousins talking about Hardy and a woman named Bonnie. How does he do it? First he marries a rich woman from the north, now he's dating a state senator. What does he have that makes successful women fall for him? Gwen almost felt faint when she saw a picture in the Sunday paper. Hardy was next to a woman at a fundraiser. Local girl and now esteemed State Senator Bonnie Parker will host a fundraiser for educational endowments in 2 weeks at the country club. There will be dinner, dancing, and a silent auction. Only 1,200 tickets are available, so get them this week before they're gone. There was no mention of Hardy. She made sure to get 2 of the best seats, dressed up, and brought a date. He was the new assistant district attorney brought in to replace her. Paul, her old boss, took her aside when she went to visit Karen and offered her a job. What about the new guy? She asked. He's on probation. I can already tell he won't work out. He's, to put it nicely, not tough enough. Defense lawyers walk all over him. Could I get you to tutor him? She was bored, and it seemed like a good idea. She became an unpaid consultant. It didn't take her long to agree with Paul. He wasn't tough enough. She finally dragged him into an interview room and gave him a stern talk. Get serious, Jerry, or you'll never make it past probation. These aren't nice people. Most of them are really bad. Your job is to keep them off the streets. Grow up and do your job. If not, I hear real estate lawyers make decent money." She stormed out of the room and slammed the door. Paul was standing in the hallway, smiling. "Still think you wouldn't make a good district attorney? Think about it. I'm planning to retire at the end of my term and the field would be wide open. The Escobar case is still fresh in people's minds and you're still a hero for that. Think about it. Gotta go." He walked off, whistling. She stopped by Jerry's cubicle the next day. "Jerry, I need a date for Saturday. Wear your best suit, get a haircut, and be ready at 7. I'll pick you up. Also, this doesn't mean anything. I just need a date for a few hours. You won't get lucky, but it might be good for your reputation. You're not bad looking. It might attract some ladies. Don't let me down." He didn't get to say a word before she walked away. Karen was in the office when Gwen arrived and barely held it together until she left. Then she burst into laughter. "Guess she told you. Better not disappoint her. She's tougher than you. And just so you know, she's doing this because her ex-husband is escorting the guest of honor, and she still cares about him. Be careful, he's a big tough guy and still has feelings for her." He rolled his eyes. "Oh, great. This is going to be a terrible date. Think I can get out of it?" "Not at all. You're just there for show. Smile, be polite, stay in the background, and everything will be fine. Behave, and she might even give you a ride home. Have fun." She was still laughing when she sat back down. Karen talked to Paul, and he got 2 pairs of tickets for himself, his wife, Karen, and her husband, saying he wouldn't miss this event for anything. Gwen made sure she looked perfect. She told Jerry to wait until right before dinner started to enter. She swept into the room after everyone was seated, passing by the main table as she was guided to her seat. He was there with one of the most beautiful women she had ever seen. She couldn't believe he was a state senator. The woman had her hand on his arm, laughing quietly. He looked up and their eyes met. Time seemed to slow down and she stumbled a little. Then they were seated nearby. It was a terrible evening. She had a clear view and watched as the woman obviously flirted with him. "Why don't you just make a scene and be done with it?" she thought, gripping her wine glass so hard it cracked. Paul, Karen, and their spouses were at her table. There was a minor fuss as they checked her hand and replaced her glass. Hardy looked over, frowning a bit. Their eyes met again, and he raised his glass in a silent toast. She ignored him. "Well, aren't you mature tonight?" said Karen in a warning tone. "You wanted to be here, so behave. Making a fuss won't change anything." The advice calmed her. She made polite small talk and spoke to people at other tables, people she knew from work. Aunt Daisy was there with Marcus. People were so used to seeing them together that it was almost expected. They raised their glasses in acknowledgement, and she flashed a bright smile. After dinner, they sat through the usual round of speeches. The keynote speaker, Bonnie Parker, made a passionate speech for her charity. "Thank you for supporting my cause tonight. Everyone here is a professional in some field. Think about your life without education. Would you be as happy? Would your family have what they have now? Knowledge is power. Take my date tonight." He had a hard start, but he pulled himself together, got an education, and became a well-known lawyer. He had the luck to have someone who believed in him and funded his work to get justice for the poor. Not bad for a boy from Limestone County. There must be more Hardy Wilkes out there. Let's help them reach their dreams. Now let's dance and bid on items for our cause. She left the podium to loud applause, stopping to shake hands and chat with well-wishers. Hardy stood and held her chair, getting a kiss on the cheek. Gwen felt a flash of anger. The band played nice old classics, waltzes, foxtrots, and some Latin numbers. Gwen was a great dancer, and her card was full. She saw Hardy now and then, once with Aunt Daisy for a slow waltz, once with Karen for an upbeat dance. She never understood how a man so big could be so light on his feet, but most of his dances were with the beautiful senator. Gwen almost stumbled the first time she saw them dance. Then, during a break, she found herself in front of Hardy. He smiled and took her hand. "How are you, Gwen?" Hiding her true feelings, she said she was fine. "Good. I'm glad to see you back. Are you staying?" "Yes, I have family here, and I'm tired of New England winters." "Good. I'm sure I'll see you around." He was about to leave when his date appeared. "Hardy, who is this lovely lady? Should I be worried?" She said it teasingly, not knowing who Gwen was. "Bonnie, this is Miss Gwen Cannaday of the Boston Cannadays. Her dad is my boss. Nice to meet you. Do you know Hardy well?" Gwen shook her hand, smirking as Hardy looked uncomfortable. Oh yes, Hardy and I go way back. No one has spent more time with him than I have until recently. Really? We should talk. I'll tell you about his wild youth, and you can tell me about his calm adulthood. It will be fun. She fished a card out of her purse. I'll be in town a few more days, political stuff. Call me any time. Before Gwen could reply, Bonnie's handlers led her away. Hardy gave Gwen a small smile and followed Bonnie. Karen came up. Don't be jealous, dear. She and Hardy were kids together. There's a lot there you don't know. I don't think there's anything romantic now, at least not for him. She seems more fond of him, though. The band started up again, and everyone went back to dancing. Gwen ran into JT, Will Robb, and his wife Myrtle. She danced with both the sheriff and the judge. It was the last set, and she saw Hardy talking to the band leader, slipping something into his hand. He stepped in front of a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost time to say goodnight. Give yourselves a hand for supporting this cause. We have a few more songs, but by special request, we're doing this next. All you lovers, married or single, here's your chance. Ladies and gentlemen, the tango. The crowd went quiet, and Hardy appeared at Gwen's side. Will you dance with me, Gwen? He held out his hand, and she took it, not trusting her voice. They had taken dance lessons together after they got married. He enjoyed watching her move, and this was one dance he wanted to share only with her. They had practiced it many times and danced it as often as they could. A few couples joined them, but soon dropped out. She was dipped, twirled, and spun. They moved almost perfectly, like they were connected by invisible strings. The band leader knew how important the dance was. He signaled his group to keep playing. They moved on the floor for almost 8 minutes before the music stopped. Their bodies came together one last time. He dipped her, holding her gently. Then he lifted her, kissed her cheek, and walked away. The crowd cheered and clapped for several minutes as she stood, enjoying the moment. Karen came to her side. Wow, girl, that was amazing. It was like watching you share a special moment. No one will forget this fundraiser for a long time. She felt tired and dazed. She sat while the band finished. Later, she went to the ladies' room to freshen up. She was washing her face when Bonnie came out of a stall. Miss Canada, your dance was beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. Hardy told me who you are. Dad mentioned he was married, but I thought it was to a local girl. I really want to talk to you. You have my card, call. She never called. She was in such a good mood she took Jerry home. Aunt Daisy helped her find a house nearby. It was an old, fancy house in a nice part of town. A big lot, 5 bedrooms with columns and a balcony facing a circular driveway. There was also a 3-bedroom bungalow, once a stable, where the housekeeper and maintenance man lived. They had been taking care of the house and grounds for 15 years, and Gwen saw no reason to replace them. At first, the house felt a bit spooky at night, but she got used to it. Soon, she inherited a daughter. Maybe daughter wasn't the right word since she was only 14 years younger, but definitely like a baby sister. She filled a deep emptiness in her life and gave her someone to care for. Hildy called out of the blue. Gwen Marie, how are you? She had lived in the South long enough to know that when someone used both your given names, it meant trouble, something important, or someone needed help. If they used all 3 names, it was serious trouble. Fine, Aunt Hildy. How about you? I'm okay. How do you like living in that big old house by yourself? It gets a little lonely sometimes, but I'm getting used to it. That's kind of why I called. I need a favor. Aunt Hildy, you know I'd do anything for you. What is it? Don't promise too quickly, girl. You remember Melissa Sue? Of course. She was one of the first cousins I met on my first visit. Is she in trouble? Not exactly. Her dad died in a truck accident when she was 7. Her mom isn't good. She ran off 3 weeks ago with some guy and hasn't been seen since. Melissa Sue didn't want to tell anyone, hoping her mom would come back, but social services found out. I'd take her in myself. She's not a bad girl despite her upbringing. But you know Joshua hasn't been well since he got hurt. We're living on his Social Security and money from Hardy. It's enough, but it bothers Joshua to take it. If someone in the family doesn't take her in soon, she'll end up in foster care. Can you help? Where is she now? The county has her in a group home. It's making Joshua very anxious. I'll be there in about 3 hours. Don't worry, Aunt Hildy. I'll get her. Stop by after you're done. You know how Joshua loves to see you. And Gwen Marie, it's good to have family like you around. Bye. She called Limestone County Social Services. They'd let her take Melissa Sue if they had court authorization. She called Paul, who contacted the local judge. Better hurry. Social Services closes in 2 hours, and if they don't have the papers, she'll be there until Monday. She knew she couldn't make it in time, so she called Hardy. She got straight to the point. Hardy, they have Melissa Sue in foster care. Her mom ran off. A judge is willing to let me take temporary custody, but I need to file it before offices close. Can you help? Hardy had dealt with foster care before and agreed quickly. I'll handle it. Meet me at Grandpa's. I'll have her there by the time you arrive. He could hear relief in her voice. Thank you. Gwen, promise me, if you need help with family matters, call me first. Promise me. I will, Hardy. See you soon. When she got there, Melissa Sue was sitting on the porch swing, looking lost and alone. Gwen's motherly instincts kicked in. She sat beside her, rocking gently. Soon, Melissa Sue's head was on her shoulder, and Gwen put her arm around her. Tears started to flow, and Gwen held her tighter, promising things would get better starting now. Gwen looked up and saw Hardy watching them. She could have sworn he had tears in his eyes. He turned and went back inside. She realized that this could have been their daughter, and her tears fell into the younger girl's hair. They had a quiet dinner. She could tell Joshua wasn't well, and Aunt Hildy was worried. She managed to get Hardy outside for a short talk. I'm worried about Joshua. Has he seen a doctor lately? Hardy grunted. The stubborn old man won't let Hildy take him. I made an appointment for next week. I told him I'd drag him there myself if he didn't go. He promised, but he doesn't seem to care. Darn Ronnie. Gwen hadn't heard a peep about the meeting with Escobar. Her family wasn't talking, but she knew Hardy and Ronnie didn't just dislike each other anymore. Roy and his old group were hunting for him, but he had vanished. After dinner, Gwen spent more time with Joshua. She hugged him and fussed over him, even though he pretended to mind. You could tell he actually liked the attention. After everyone, including Hardy, gave her a hug and kiss, she gathered up Melissa Sue. The girl didn't even have a suitcase, just 2 small garbage bags. Once they were in the car, Gwen asked if she needed to get the rest of her things. Melissa Sue looked down. This is all I have, Aunt Gwen. Do you have a washing machine? I couldn't afford laundry and everything needs cleaning. Gwen was shocked. The poor girl had nothing. She thought about her own spoiled childhood and sighed. She promised herself that no matter where they ended up, Melissa Sue's life would get much better. They drove to the local Walmart. It wasn't the best, but it would have to do for now. Come on, honey, I need to get a few things. Melissa Sue was surprised she was the main reason for the shopping trip. Just a few things for now. We'll get you more clothes later. Melissa Sue said Gwen shouldn't spend money on her, but Gwen laughed. Sweetie, your Auntie Gwen has plenty of money. This will make me happier than you. They bought new underwear, jeans, tops, pajamas, and sneakers. Then they got personal items like hair products, shampoo, and skin cream. Melissa Sue looked longingly at some lip gloss but put it back. Gwen had a feeling she didn't use makeup much. That color is wrong for you. These will work better. Let me pick for now. The cart filled up quickly. They stopped last at the groceries section. Pick out some snacks, but not too much junk. The plan didn't last long. They ended up with soda, popcorn, chips, and ice cream. Gwen also grabbed some yogurt and fruit to feel less guilty. Melissa Sue was stunned at the total. She was even more stunned when she saw the house. How many people live here? Just us 2. Help me unload and we'll pick out your room. She picked the room closest to Gwen's, still feeling unsure. Gwen encouraged her. Great. It's close to mine and has its own bathroom. Sharing one bathroom can be a hassle. Gwen made sure Melissa took a bath and brushed her teeth. She even tucked her in, which normally might seem silly for a 15-year-old, but Melissa seemed to like it. They talked for a bit while Melissa held her hand. Once Melissa got sleepy, Gwen gently pulled her hand away, kissed her forehead, and turned off the lights. Standing in the hallway, Gwen imagined the house full of kids. She felt warm inside for a moment before reality hit her. She was almost 30 and starting to hear her biological clock tick. She regretted not wanting kids before. Now, the only man she wanted kids with was no longer in her life. It took a while to fall asleep. She even got up twice to check on Melissa, marveling at how peacefully she slept. Gwen woke up to see Melissa sitting on her bed. Good, you're awake. Mrs. Hendricks is making breakfast. She says you need to give her money for proper food if a growing child is staying here. Good morning, Aunt Gwen. Melissa gave her a kiss and bounced out. Gwen lay there enjoying the feeling. Mrs. Hendricks was her housekeeper and had often offered to cook for her, but Gwen always said no since she was alone. Now things were different, and she wondered how else her life would change. Breakfast was lively, with Melissa and Mrs. Hendricks chatting. Gwen told Mrs. Hendricks she would set up a household account and give her a debit card. I'll get one for your husband, too, for his landscaping work. Gwen had bought the house cheaply because of the economy and its condition. It was sturdy but run down. The previous owners had only paid for basic upkeep, not improvements. One day she saw Mrs. Hendricks' husband trying to revive a rose bush and asked why he didn't just replace it. No money. She asked him to create a landscape plan, including a pool. She loved swimming. He wanted to do the work himself, but she convinced him to supervise and hire subcontractors instead. Mrs. Hendricks said it was the happiest her husband had been in years. After breakfast, it was time for a serious talk. Melissa, do you want to stay here? Melissa hung her head, thinking she might have to leave. Yes, ma'am, as long as you'll have me. Gwen hugged her. Good. In that case, we need to transfer you to school here. Do you do well in school? Melissa blushed. I like school, but we moved around so much that I was held back for not attending enough. Gwen frowned at her mother's carelessness, but decided some summer tutoring would help. We'll get your records from your old school on Monday. I'll find out which district we're in by then. She took a deep breath. I'm glad you want to stay. I want you to stay too, but we need some rules. First, Mrs. Hendricks is our housekeeper, not a maid. I expect you to keep your room clean and not stress her out. I expect you to attend school and get good grades. If you need help, ask. If I can't help you, I'll find someone who can. I know you'll make new friends. You can bring them here or visit their houses as long as I meet their parents and approve. If they come here, they're your guests and you're responsible for them. I remember peer pressure, but if you do something foolish, there will be consequences. I have my own tasks, so I might not always be home, and Mrs. Hendricks might not always be here, so I will depend on your word. Can I count on you? Good. Now the big one. You are very beautiful and boys will notice you. No boys in your room ever. No boys when Mrs. Hendricks or I aren't around. That being said, when you turn 16, you can go on dates with my approval. Until then, you can go out with groups. That's it. Can you handle it? Yes, ma'am. Good, now why don't you explore the house and yard while I make some calls? You can call your friends if you want. She only had one call to make. Aunt Daisy, I need your help. She explained about Melissa and how she wanted to make her life better. Daisy listened for about 5 minutes, then interrupted. I understand. I'll be over in 30 minutes. Have her ready to go out. Without waiting for a reply, she hung up. She found Melissa talking to Mr. Hendricks about flowers. Honey, go freshen up. Your great Aunt Daisy is coming by and wants to meet you. Daisy showed up on time with Marcus. She didn't get out of the car. Marcus rang the bell and told them they were expected in the car. Of course, they were in his Cadillac. Daisy had Melissa sit in the back to get to know her. Gwen had no idea where they were going, so she decided to trust Aunt Daisy and spent the time talking to Marcus about history. He was excited about his role in an excavation of a Civil War site. They stopped in a part of uptown Birmingham that Gwen had passed through before but never paid much attention to. Why are we here? Clothes. The girl needs school clothes, and our family has shopped here for 6 generations. It was a small shop, but Gwen realized they were experts and relaxed. They measured Melissa from head to toe, taking notes. When they were done, they brought out a few dresses they thought were appropriate. Gwen, who had worn clothes made by top designers, was amazed by the quality. Daisy picked 4 dresses without consulting Gwen or Melissa. Then she took Melissa by the hand. Now, child, I've picked out the basics. You pick 3 more. It took another hour of fittings and discussion before she had 3 more. Daisy stood up suddenly. Time to go. We have other people to visit. Melissa was shocked. Aren't we taking the dresses? Daisy laughed at her confusion. No, they'll be delivered later. They have to adjust them to fit you perfectly. If your weight changes, make sure you lose instead of gain. It's easier to take in than let out. Nothing was said about payment, so Gwen decided to ask Daisy later. Marcus was dozing in the car. saying he would feel more comfortable in a cave full of snakes than in a dress shop. They left him and walked 3 doors down. It was a shoe store, and they spent 90 minutes picking out 4 pairs, 2 flats and 2 with 1-inch heels. The colors matched the dresses. Daisy said anything higher on a young girl looked cheap, except for formal occasions. Again, payment was never discussed. On the way to another shop, Melissa worked up the courage to ask Aunt Daisy why she needed so many dresses. Because the dress code at Pleasant Hill Academy says you can only wear slacks on Fridays. The rest of the week, you must wear dresses or skirts. And slacks mean slacks, not jeans. Melissa and Gwen were stunned. Everyone important in the state wanted their kids to go to Pleasant Hill, but the waiting list was 3 years long. The place was a top school for future leaders in the South. Aunt Daisy, how are we going to get Melissa into Pleasant Hill? You know how long the waiting list is? I'm the main financial donor. You have no idea how expensive it is to run. If it weren't for alumni support, it would have closed years ago. Our family has gone to the school since it opened. I never thought I would see another family member attend. You have no idea how much it means to me. Shouldn't we ask Melissa if she wants to go there? Daisy snorted. Your generation is too soft on your children. But let's ask her. See if she's willing to break an old lady's heart and blow the chance of a lifetime. Melissa Sue Wilkes, would you like to attend Pleasant Hill? Melissa had her head down, and her answer was barely audible. Yes, Daisy tapped her cane. Speak up, child. Old ears aren't as good as they used to be. I'd love to go to Pleasant Hill, Aunt Daisy, but I'm just a simple girl with no manners. What if I don't fit in? What if they're mean to me? What if they make fun of me? Daisy gave her a stern look. No one will make fun of you or be mean for long. You've got Howe, Cannaday, and Hardy Wilkes money behind you. Nobody is foolish enough to challenge that for long. Now give your old aunt a thank you kiss. Melissa kissed her cheek and held her hand all the way home, talking quietly and listening closely. When they arrived home, Daisy gave Gwen and Melissa both orders. Melissa was supposed to visit Daisy twice a week to learn how to act like a proper Southern lady, and Gwen had to join for at least one of those sessions. You've got pretty good manners for a Yankee. This will just help you with the finer details. Now that I've sorted out the main wardrobe items, she needs regular teen clothes. Nothing too flashy or revealing. Remember who you represent. You two can bond over that. Now give me a hug and a kiss, and I'll see you soon. After she left, Gwen said sorry to Melissa. I'm sorry, sweetie. I just wanted some advice. I didn't mean for her to take over your life. Melissa looked at her like she had lost her mind. Are you kidding? I just got a whole new set of clothes, a spot in the most exclusive school in the South, and hopefully the support of the 2 richest women in the state. Meeting you was the luckiest day of my life. Thank you. I'll do my best to make you proud. They hugged tightly, Melissa trying to show all her love and thanks. Well, she smiled, what are we going to do the rest of the weekend? Gwen had a plan. First, they took the Hendricks to a car dealership. They asked Mr. Hendricks what brand he liked, and he chose Chevrolet. He left driving a new truck. Mrs. Hendricks liked her sister's Dodge van, so they bought a Town and Country. She could use it to drive Melissa around when needed. Then they looked at SUVs until Gwen picked a Range Rover. She loved her little Focus, too, and thought it would be a great first car for a teenage girl. They visited some fancy stores for Melissa's casual clothes. She started to wonder if she needed another closet. Her new clothes added up to more than she had ever owned. Gwen took her to a salon to have her hair trimmed and treated. They also got manicures and pedicures, a first for Melissa. Sunday night, Gwen heard noise from Melissa's room and went to check. She found her lying across the bed, crying. She rushed over. What's wrong, sweetie? Melissa sniffled. I'm scared. Scared this is just a dream and I'll wake up in my old trailer. Scared that if I stay here, no one at school will like me. I wasn't raised rich. I won't know what to do. Honey, it's a dream, but it's mine. You'll do just fine. Remember, you're part of 2 of the oldest families in the state, the Wilkes and the Howes. Their blood runs in you. I've read a lot about both families, and they were never cowards. Now go to sleep. I want you rested for tomorrow. The next day, Daisy and Gwen took her to school. The headmaster was very excited. I can't believe it. A Howe back in Pleasant Hill. Everything is right again. They went over her school records and decided she would spend half her day in regular classes and half getting special help to catch up. She was smart and willing to work hard. Her biggest fear was letting Aunt Daisy and Aunt Gwen down. She slowly made friends. Aunt Daisy helped build her confidence by introducing her to her friends, who were the grandparents or great-grandparents of her schoolmates. She met some schoolmates at their homes. Melissa, a smart child, knew when to keep quiet and listen. Soon she had a group of friends and was doing well. Everyone knew she had a lot of support, and that helped. After a few months, Gwen hired a private investigator and found Melissa's mother in Florida. She showed up at her trailer and gave her a choice: sign over permanent custody or come back to Alabama and face charges for child endangerment and abuse. If she signed, she would get a small amount of money. Her mother quickly signed. Gwen gave her a picture of Melissa and one of a group at Pleasant Hill. She has a good life now. If she wants to see you, I won't stop her, but I will be watching. Here's her cell number. As far as she knew, her mother never called. Right after Thanksgiving, Gwen asked if Melissa wanted to see her mother. Without looking up from her homework, Melissa said, "I see my mother every day." Gwen barely held back her tears as she made it to her bedroom. She later bought Melissa a top-of-the-line smartphone and tablet. One unexpected thing for Gwen was her father visiting more often since she had moved into the big house. He even took her to Boston for a holiday. She came back with a newspaper clipping of them together at a charity event. It identified them as Greg Canaday and granddaughter Melissa Sue Wilkes. She framed it and hung it in her room, and from that day, he was her grandpa. He saw Hardy for business sometimes. Hardy was thinking of opening his own office, and Greg advised against it. "You've got a good life. Why change something that's working?" But Hardy wasn't happy. He had family and friends, but he was alone. He finally filed for divorce, and when Gwen got the notice, she cried for 2 days. He never found anyone who felt as right as Gwen, so he pretty much stopped looking. Gwen started dating again. She even had one man over while Melissa was at a friend's house. But besides some physical comfort, it meant nothing to her. They both lived aimlessly until big events brought them together again. Gwen was fast asleep when Melissa ran into her room crying. Gwen hugged her right away. "What is it? What's wrong?" "Grandpa Hardy had a heart attack. Aunt Hildy called me by mistake. They're bringing him here by helicopter, and he should be here soon." They got dressed quickly and drove fast to the hospital. Hildy was already there, almost in a panic. She clung to Gwen like she was drowning. It took 5 minutes for Gwen to understand her. They were having trouble getting him admitted because of insurance issues. Gwen's fierce side came out and she stormed to the desk. "You have my grandfather here. What's this nonsense about admissions? Here." She pulled out her checkbook, wrote a check, and handed it over. "Fill it out later. I want the best care for him. If he doesn't get it, I'll sue this place into the ground." A deep voice came from behind her. "And when she's done, I'll start. Now get moving." She turned and buried her head in Hardy's chest, crying. He gently stroked her hair and back. "It's okay, baby. We'll get him the best care. Now can you help Aunt Hildy calm down? I think she's scaring Melissa." Joshua had heart surgery 4 hours later. Many relatives came, filling the waiting rooms. The staff was amazed at how loved he was. Gwen was surprised to find out he was 81. She thought he was younger. Before the surgery, he asked to see Hildy, Gwen, and Hardy. "I want to talk to you, just in case. Hildy, you were like the daughter I lost. I don't know why you stayed with a grumpy old man, but thank you. I love you." Hildy cried. It was the first time he said he loved her. "Gwen, if anyone told me my favorite granddaughter would be a Yankee, I'd laugh. But you are, and you're very important to me. I love you." Gwen cried her own tears. "Hardy, son, I'm proud of you. I tried to teach you right, and even though it didn't always work, you turned out just fine." Hardy had tears, too. "Now, in case I don't make it, Hardy, Gwen, I need to say something. You guys are fools. You're miserable without each other. Why else haven't you remarried? I won't ask for promises, but think about it. I hope I live long enough to say I told you so when you remarry. Now let me rest." They left quietly, looking at each other with unspoken questions and hope. Joshua survived but stayed in the hospital for a long time because of an infection. Gwen and Hardy spent as much time with him as possible. They started having dinner together, talking about safe topics like Melissa, Joshua, and the family. Hardy compared it to hugging a porcupine, moving slowly, avoiding the spikes. Gwen was hopeful. Melissa even joked about getting a new dad. Weekends at the farm became regular, with Gwen taking over Hildy's chores while she was at the hospital. Hardy began to smile more and looked forward to evenings with Gwen. Josh would grin and tell them to spend time with each other instead of him. Gwen teased Josh when Hardy wasn't around, saying he might live long enough to say, "I told you so." Crystal Ann had given up on Hardy and started dating a nice young state trooper. She visited Hardy to pick up forms and her small pistol, a gift from Hardy when she got her own place. She learned to shoot well and planned to go to the shooting range with her boyfriend. The doorbell rang, and Hardy called to Crystal, saying her boyfriend was here. "Don't outshoot him, girl. He'll never live it down." He opened the door and found Ronnie Wilkes standing there. Ronnie looked terrible. Dirty, skinny, wild eyes. He was clearly on drugs. He had hidden away in Mobile with money he got from Don Vincente, but got hooked on drugs. He blamed Hardy for his problems. When the money ran out, he started robbing people, focusing on the old and weak. Police began looking for him after he killed an old man during a robbery. He had to leave town, so he stole from a drug dealer, took his car, drugs, money, and a gun. Hardy's first thought was to warn Crystal, but before he could speak, Ronnie shot him 4 times. Hardy dropped to the floor, and Ronnie aimed carefully at his head. Crystal ran into the living room after hearing the shots. She saw everything in one quick look. Without thinking, she lifted her pistol and fired. She missed, but only just. The bullet grazed his arm. Ronnie ran out of the house. Crystal didn't chase him. Instead, she knelt beside Hardy, screaming and calling 911 and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was almost home when a car sped past him. He called for help as he parked. Crystal was covered in blood, trying to stop Hardy's bleeding. He knew Hardy was close to death, but Hardy survived, barely. A helicopter flew him to the same hospital as Josh. Gwen was used to the sound of helicopters by now. She glanced at the clock, noting Hardy was late and hadn't called. She went to the lobby to wait for him. As she walked, she overheard the nurses talking. "I heard he might not make it. He's lost a lot of blood and was shot several times. If anyone can survive, it's him. He's the toughest man I've ever seen. Someone needs to tell his ex-wife. She and their family usually visit his grandpa, that grumpy old man in room 412. Time seemed to slow as Gwen turned toward the desk. One of the nurses saw her and covered her mouth with her hand. Gwen spun around and ran to the emergency room. She screamed as she ran through the hallways. She arrived just as they wheeled Hardy in. Blood was soaking through the bandages despite their efforts. Gwen pushed past 2 paramedics and a nurse, fighting to reach Hardy. He lay still. Even his blonde hair seemed lifeless. For a moment, she thought he was already dead, but his hand moved slightly as if reaching for something. She grabbed his hand, refusing to let go. He tried to speak. They hadn't restrained him, and he pulled out the ventilator. His eyes were open, but he wasn't really seeing. Blood bubbled on his lips. 1 bullet had hit a lung. "Tell Gwen, tell—" He lost consciousness. Gwen kept screaming that she loved him until she couldn't speak anymore. She felt a small prick and then collapsed. When she woke up, she was in a bed tied down. Hildy, Daisy, Melissa, and many relatives crowded the room and halls. "Where's Hardy?" she yelled, fighting the straps. Hildy and Daisy came to her, trying to calm her down. "Calm down, child. Hardy's in surgery and will be for a while." "How long have I been out?" 3 hours. They had to sedate you so they could treat Hardy." Gwen tried to get them to remove the restraints. "Stay calm. You're not helping anyone strapped down. Your daughter is very scared. Look at her. Be strong and calm and they'll let you go. You must promise not to try to see Hardy. He won't know you're there and it will only upset you needlessly. Go see Grandpa Hardy. He's probably wondering why you haven't been to see him." It took an hour, but Gwen calmed down. Her training helped her stay composed when she visited Josh. She apologized for being late, saying Hardy had been called out of town on a case and Melissa had an emergency at school. Josh saw how upset she was. "Don't worry, girl. Hardy will be back soon. Listen, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. I made a will. I didn't go through either of you because it was a surprise. I want you to have the farm as long as Hildy can live there and you take care of her. Also, I'd like you to name your first son Joshua Hardy Wilkes, though I can't force it. Will you do that?" Gwen started crying again, promising she would do her best to honor his wishes. Hardy had a collapsed lung, lost a kidney, 1 bullet broke 2 ribs, another hit his small intestine, so they had to shorten it. They missed a bullet that chipped the top of his hip bone. Despite all these injuries, he survived. Hardy was in a coma for 6 days. Gwen, Daisy, Hildy, Greg, who came right when she called, and even Roy took turns watching over him and Josh. For the first time, every room in her house was full. Mrs. Hendricks loved taking care of everyone. A big search started for Ronnie Wilkes, but he vanished. When Hardy finally woke up and was clear-headed, he asked Roy to watch over Gwen and Josh. Roy grinned, leaned over, and whispered in his ear, "Don't worry about Ronnie, cousin. I've heard from good sources that tonight he sleeps with the fishes." Hardy smiled and shook his hand. Once Hardy woke up, Gwen never left his side, except to shower and occasionally sleep. He complained, but she just smiled. "Oh no, I've got you now. You can't get up and leave, and you can't throw me out. You can try to ignore me, but you know that won't work. No, Hardy, I'm going to find out who you really are. Not the stories, not the nonsense, not the evasions. You can fight me if you want, but you can't go anywhere right now, and I'm not leaving. If you try to throw me out, I'll bribe the nurses. If you give me too much trouble, I'll have you declared unfit to make decisions and move you into my house. So tell me the truth. Maybe I'll hear so many bad things I'll leave you alone forever, but I doubt it." Hardy sighed, pressed the button to increase his pain meds, and went to sleep. She was there when he woke up. A week went by. Finally, he gave in a bit. "Ask me one thing each week and I'll answer. Did you really do all the things they said you did before you joined the Marines?" He laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "If I had done everything they said, I would have had to start when I was 10. "Then why did you take credit for it?" "I didn't, but I didn't deny it either. Do you know the first rule of scaring people?" She shook her head. "Kill one, scare 10,000. If people thought I was bad, I was. It worked. The really bad guys stayed hidden, and the cops couldn't prove anything because I never actually did it. People feared me, and they left me alone. Don't get me wrong, I did bad things, but I never really liked hurting people. Sometimes just hinting that I might do something was enough." "But I've seen you fight. You're pretty good at it. Where did you learn that?" "My dad had a friend from the Philippines, from one of the smaller islands. He was in jail with him a while. He was 5 feet tall and weighed maybe 100 pounds, but he was the scariest man I ever saw. People in prison stayed away from him. He was an expert in Kali and Dumong, 2 fighting styles. He liked me and taught me a lot. He was lonely, and my family was kind to him. Grandpa let him live and work on the farm for a while. Their martial arts aren't for show. Every move is made to either kill or disable. Their weapon and knife skills are like an art. That's why everyone thought I was so tough, because of my fighting style. Luckily, I never killed anyone, but I did break a few legs and arms." Another week passed, and he thought he might get out. "Did you really beat up your sister and brother-in-law? And did you kill her lover?" Yes, and no. You know how I feel about cheaters, and I was really immature back then. I didn't really beat her up, but I did slap her. I did beat up her lover, though, and the only reason I fought my brother-in-law was because he jumped me one night. I gave him a good beating for that. He was too ashamed to tell people the truth, so he said I was going to kill him, and they moved. Why didn't you tell anyone the truth? Remember the rule of scaring people. If people thought I would do that to my own family, what would I do to strangers? So what happened with her lover? He did what my brother-in-law did, but used a bat. He broke my arm. I still nearly killed him and told him I'd finish the job if I saw him again. He left that night and didn't even take his clothes. His car was being taken back, so he left it. I took an old jacket he left and dropped it way out in the country by a pond. That's how that rumor got started. Don't you miss your sister? He went silent for a while. Yes, she was pretty much all the family I had, except for Grandpa. We were close because of the tough times we went through. I hear she has 3 kids now, 1 in her teens. Why didn't you try to make peace with her? We parted on really bad terms. She called me after they left, yelled at me, said she was ashamed to be my sister, and more rough stuff. I thought it best to leave her alone. Do you know everyone in the family thinks you banished her, and she's afraid to come home? He got angry. She could come home anytime she wants. I would never hurt her again. It's that jerk husband of hers that keeps her from coming. The emotional talk tired him, and they stopped for the night. Joshua gave Gwen the number for his sister, and she called the next morning. It was an emotional talk, especially when she heard about their health. Would you please come and see them? I know it would do them both a lot of good. I'd love to, but I don't have money for gas, even if my old car could make it. Does your husband have a car? She laughed bitterly. I'm sure he does. The problem is I don't know where he or the car is. He left me almost 2 years ago. Haven't seen him since. Things have changed since the last time you talked to the family. You have some rich relatives now. There will be a rental car in your name in Asheville by 10 tomorrow. It will be gassed up and ready to go. Can your car make it that far? I think so, but I still won't have money for the trip. There will be a debit card at the desk with the keys. It will have $2,500 on it. That should cover meals and gas, shouldn't it? Please, it would mean a lot to us. I guess I could, but... Oh, be sure all the kids come. If there's one thing we love, it's more cousins. See you tomorrow night. She wondered where she would put them. Her house was already full. Aunt Daisy came to the rescue. I've got 9 empty bedrooms. It'll be nice to hear children in the house again. Peggy Wilkes Smith and her family were overwhelmed when they arrived. They met many new faces they'd probably never remember. Gwen and Daisy took them to eat before settling them in. 13-year-old Peggy Jr. and Melissa became fast friends, so little Peg decided to share her bedroom. Greg was amazed when he saw her. She looked like a smaller version of Melissa. Wow, those Wilkes genes sure make pretty girls. Too bad about the boys. Little Peg blushed deeply but loved the compliment. She was thrilled when Melissa told her Greg was her great-uncle. He's a Yankee, but don't hold that against him. He's super rich, so be nice to him, girl. # simpler version. And he's full of it, you'll see. We've got some good-looking men in our family. Just wait until you meet your uncle. You'll wish you weren't related, said Melissa. Melissa Sue Wilkes! Greg and Gwen shouted at the same time, but it was too late. Melissa was already pulling her cousin toward her bedroom, sticking her tongue out as she went. They both smiled. You've spoiled her too much, Gwen said. Like mother, like daughter, Greg replied. It was true. Gwen had officially adopted Melissa 2 months ago. It was one of the best days of her life. Both of them cried a lot that day, but they were also very happy. The next day, they let Peggy go in alone. She stayed for 2 hours and came back with red and puffy eyes. But she was smiling and looked peaceful for the first time since she got there. Gwen went in and saw Hardy looking tired with his head down. She hugged him gently, stroking his hair. He held her hands and kissed them softly, a touch she remembered well. Thank you for this, honey. Honey? He called her honey for the first time in almost 3 years. Gwen started crying again as she snuggled into his hair. She felt that he was coming back to her. Hardy spent a month in a rehab clinic after leaving the hospital. His muscles had weakened, and getting back to normal was hard. But he learned to live with pain again. While he was there, he got 3 surprise visitors, Major Stein, Rabbi Bill, and Captain Ann Burnside. They greeted each other and commented on their appearances. You look awful, Hardy. If you were a cat, you'd be on your 10th life by now, Major Stein said with a smile. Bill added his own jokes. Then they got serious. Captain Burnside, can we have some privacy? Why don't you take his friend for coffee? Yes, sir. She turned and left the room. Miss Cannaday, would you come with me, please? They stopped by the restroom on the way out. Once they were alone, they hugged and shared a kiss. Anne, it's so good to see you. Why are you here? Officially, I'm Major Stein's new assistant. Unofficially, I really wanted to see you. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm a mom now. Did you know? Really? When did that happen? About a year ago. Want to see pictures? They entered the coffee shop and made their orders. Once seated, she showed a picture of Melissa. Anne looked at the photo. Wow, what's in the water here? She's beautiful. How old is she? 17. They grow up so fast, don't they? Gwen giggled. Stepdaughter? Her dad must be handsome. No, she's my full daughter. Her dad died when she was young and her mom left her. I ended up taking her in, but it's been great. No man, then? I kind of hoped you would call me. Gwen took Anne's hands. What we had was special, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I'm glad it happened, glad it was with you. But there's a man in my life now, and it's getting serious. Who? What's he like? Is he handsome, rich, in love with you? Yes, and I think so. We've both just gotten over failed marriages, so we're taking it slow. Does this mystery man have a name? Yes, his name is Hardy Wilkes. Anne gasped. Really? Yes, really. We haven't told each other yet, but it'll happen soon. I'm so happy. Tell me more. Gwen filled her in on her life since they last saw each other. Wow, why can't my life be like that? It hasn't been all candles and soft music. It's been rough. I gave up a few times, but never let go. I have great hopes for the future. They were gone for over half an hour. The major looked a bit annoyed. Sorry, sir. Long line, Anne said. It's all right. We're done here. Major Stein shook Hardy's hand. Hardy, have a great life. Our sessions are over, but call me if you need anything. Miss Cannaday, a minute of your time? We can talk while we walk to the car? He stopped halfway. Darn, forgot my briefcase. Will you get it for me, Captain? Good. Give us about 5 minutes, okay? Yes, sir. Anne left, giving them a chance to talk. She hugged Hardy gently and kissed him. It's so good to see you, Hardy. I'm glad you're alive. I've missed you. Anne, I've often thought of you. Is your life good? She shrugged. I'm married to the Army. 6.5 more years, then I'll start looking for my soulmate. Just my luck. I've already met 2 great ones, but they're both married. Hardy grinned. If they're married to each other, you should try for both. Think of the fun. She laughed it off. Not likely. They only have eyes for each other. My time is up. If I never see you again, I wish you the best. I'll always remember you fondly. It took her a few minutes to clear her eyes. Finally, Hardy was doing better. He agreed to stay with Gwen and Greg to make it easier to get to his therapy appointments. He wasn't ready to drive, so they took turns taking him. Gwen used the car rides to ask him questions. Did you really take a couple of women away from Big Daddy? Yes, but not for why you think. I did it to make him mad and teach him a lesson. He was trying to mess with my business, so I wanted him to know what it felt like. I helped one out once, got a bad customer away from her. He was beating her up. Big Daddy beat her when the guy complained. She found out he was planning to take over her cousin's business while they were in jail. She took a big risk by telling me. His plan failed, and he beat her up badly. I thought it was a good idea to teach him a lesson too, so I put him in the hospital. She got out before he did, so I took her and his best worker and moved them where he couldn't find them. Were they thankful? The one who got beat up was, but the other one wasn't. She didn't like how I treated them. Did you make them work for you? No, I locked them in rooms for 4 weeks. He had them hooked on drugs to control them. It was a tough withdrawal. I took them far into the countryside where no one could hear them and just let them scream. In the 4th week, I took them to Doc Thomas for checkups. They both had mild VD, and he treated them. What happened to them? I took them to Montgomery, got them a place to stay and gave them some money, told them to have a good life and not make the same mistakes. Did they listen? One did, the one that got beat up. The other came back a month later and was back with Homer in 2 weeks. Some people you just can't help. The other came back a week after that, saying she was lonely. She stayed with me for about a year until she met the man she married and moved to Mobile. They have 4 kids now. She told him early on what she used to do, and he said he was glad to know he wasn't the only one who had a past. She fell in love right then. The next time they were in the car, she asked him a question that had bothered her for years. Tell me the story of you and Crystal Ann. He surprised her. No. What? I said no. If you really want to know, ask her. Gathering her courage, she called Crystal. Crystal, it's Gwen. Would you have lunch with me? It's about Hardy, and he knows I'm calling you. Crystal seemed unsure. All right, but the first time you say anything bad about him, I'm leaving. It's not about him, it's about you and him. Please? 1 o'clock, be there, the gin. Don't be late or I'm gone. The gin was once a working cotton gin. When cotton gave way to synthetic fabrics, it was empty for years. It was almost falling apart when a chef bought the building for almost nothing as part of a downtown project. With its plain brick walls and wooden floors, the place was always busy. Gwen arrived 20 minutes early but only beat Crystal by about 5 minutes. There was no small talk. They ordered and ate in silence. Gwen pushed her plate away, too nervous to eat. Thank you for coming. Crystal was not going to be easy on her. I didn't come for you. I came for Hardy. I called him and he said to tell you anything you wanted to know. What do you want? Everything. How you met. How long have you known each other? Anything you want to tell me. Cut to the chase. You want to know if I've ever slept with him, don't you? Gwen was embarrassed, but nodded yes. Short answer, no. Not ever. And look at me. I'm just as attractive as you are. Why? Because he loves me. Not like the way he loved you. I became his little sister and he never saw me differently. While you were growing up with a comfortable life and loving parents, I was growing up in the projects with a mom who drank too much. Things were bad, but manageable until these grew. She motioned to her chest, causing the man at the next table to choke on his tea. Suddenly, I wasn't just the poor kid the guys tolerated to get with my mom. I was new prey. The fact that I was 13 didn't bother them, and when I told my mom, she said I had to learn sometime. My older brother hung out with Hardy back then, so I knew who he was. My brother kept the guys away when he was around, but then he made the mistake of trying to rob a store alone. The clerk shot him, and he went to jail for 6 years. One guy in particular came after me hard every time Mom passed out, and I knew one day he wouldn't stop with a few touches. I knew Hardy had taken some women away from Big Daddy, so I decided if I had to do it anyway, I might as well make some money at it. I cleaned up the best I could and went to see him. He remembered me and talked about my brother for a bit, then asked if he could help me. That's when I told him my big plan to be his new worker, promising to do whatever he wanted if he would just keep me safe. I'll never forget the look on his face. It went from happy to a look that could freeze water. He got the whole story from me, my drunk mom, her grabbing boyfriends, my whole sad life. He left me sitting there, telling me not to move. He came back with a woman and told her to take me shopping. We got jeans, tops, sneakers, a whole new wardrobe. I asked the lady when we were going to get my work clothes, and she just smiled. I did get to pick out one little dress and some sandals. I looked at myself and thought I really looked grown up. She let me wear it back to Hardy's place. She paused for a glass of water and to dry her eyes. When we got back, he asked her if she got what he asked for. She just nodded. He looked me over and asked if I liked my new clothes. I said yes, of course, what girl doesn't like new clothes? Did you get new underwear too? He asked. I just nodded yes. Let me see them, he said. I was shocked. Up until now, I hadn't really thought about what I was going to have to do. I had heard stories. I knew he was about to break me in. But I was determined and slowly lifted my dress, trying to give him a show, thinking he might go easier on me. I was wearing my first pair of bikini panties. He let me lift my dress to my waist and then grabbed me. I was looking down, embarrassed, and didn't see him move. Before I could react, he had me face down over his lap and started spanking me hard. His hands are huge, and it didn't take long before it hurt a lot. I was crying, begging him to stop, promising I'd do anything. He pushed me off his lap and I fell to the floor, still crying. Then he picked me up, sat me in a chair, and got right in my face. He said if I ever came to him with another stupid idea, what just happened would feel like nothing compared to what he'd do next time. After that, he and a woman I didn't know put me and my new things in a car and drove me to Aunt Hildy and Grandpa Joshua. He changed my school, gave them money each week to take care of me, and visited as often as he could. Even when he joined the military, he sent half his pay home every month. I heard he visited my mom. I don't know what he said, but she didn't argue about me not returning. And the guy who kept bothering me, he made sure he'd never use that hand again. Aunt Hildy and Grandpa raised me. When I graduated, Hardy paid for my college. I decided to become a paralegal to work for him and stay close. I love him deeply, but he still sees me as a silly 13-year-old. Now you know. One more thing. I hated you for taking him, even more for breaking his heart. But I've watched you. You've changed and grown up. He never stopped loving you, and I know you both spend time together. Just know, if you break his heart again, others know where the hidden ponds are too. Thanks for lunch. She walked out without looking back. 4 days later, they were sitting by the pool. It was the only thing she had changed about the place. She added it when she thought she'd live there alone and built a tall privacy fence. Once she became an instant mom, she had to limit her pool time to when Melissa was in school. Melissa and her friends loved the pool, and it was always filled with laughing teenagers, especially on weekends. Boys were only allowed on weekends, and she always watched them. The pool was always crowded. Melissa and her friends were pretty, so boys liked being there, But once someone told her the boys also liked seeing her, she started wearing more modest one-piece swimsuits. They still looked at her, and it felt awkward. Hardy spent a lot of time in the pool. The exercise helped him. He avoided weekends, despite Gwen and Melissa asking him to stay. His body had many scars and recent injuries. He once joked that schools should show his picture to scare kids straight. She put lotion on his back, taking her time and enjoying the moment. Finally, he had enough and leaned back in his chair. She lay down, eyes closed, hoping he was watching her. When they were alone, she wore her smallest swimsuits. It made him uncomfortable at first, and she teased him, asking why he was embarrassed. "You've seen me before. Why does it matter now?" she asked. He had sunglasses on so she couldn't see his eyes, but his voice was sad. "Because you're not mine anymore," he said, then got up and walked into the house. She was stunned. She stopped teasing him for a while and wore more modest suits. A week or two later, she came out in a one-piece suit, and he seemed disappointed. She lay down for a bit and then got up, pretending to be annoyed. "This suit is bothering me. Do you mind if I change?" she asked. "It's your house. Wear what you want," he replied. She smiled and changed into a modest bikini, noticing his reaction. "He still wants me," she thought while applying more lotion on his back, glad he couldn't see her face. His recovery was going well, and she worried he might move back to his own house. She, Melissa, and Greg worked together to make him so happy he'd never leave. She almost felt jealous of how close Melissa had become to him. "Don't worry, Mom. I've never really had a dad, so let me enjoy this," Melissa told her. Melissa even got him to speak at her school during career week. "Do you mind, Mom? You're there all the time, and he'd be different. One boy liked me a lot, but then stopped suddenly. I asked my friend, and she said he found out my dad was Hardy Wilkes and got scared." "Sorry, honey. Did you really like him?" "Kind of, but if he can't handle my family, he's not worth it." Gwen understood. Otherwise, Melissa never mentioned it. Hardy enjoyed speaking at the school, not minding when she introduced him as her dad. She insisted he stay for lunch, and everyone crowded around him. Melissa was popular, always kind to everyone, remembering that life can change quickly. A few kids had to leave school because their parents lost their jobs. She mentioned to Aunt Daisy about a girl she really liked having to leave. Daisy looked into the family and the girl's grades. Suddenly, there was a scholarship available for her and a few others. Melissa knew Daisy was behind it, but wisely kept quiet. The next time she was in the car with Hardy alone, she asked him something that had been bothering her. "What is your relationship with Bonnie? Why don't you ask her? Why won't you tell me?" "Because just like I don't talk about you with anyone else, I don't discuss other women who are important to me. If she wants to tell you, she will. Otherwise, it's a closed subject." She still had the card Bonnie had given her at the fundraiser. She called her. At first, Bonnie didn't remember her, but when she mentioned Hardy, Bonnie recalled, "Oh, I remember you now. Have you done the tango recently?" Gwen was glad Bonnie couldn't see her blush. "No, not since that night. There's only one person I want to dance with, and he's not interested anymore." "Don't underestimate yourself. You didn't see how unhappy he was when others danced with you, especially your date. What can I do for you?" Gwen invited her to lunch, saying Hardy suggested they talk. "All right, I have to come home next week for business. Meet me for Sunday dinner with my family, and we'll talk after." "Thank you. Where do your parents live?" Bonnie laughed. "Oh, I'm sure you can find it. Everyone knows where the sheriff lives." "Is Will Rob your dad?" "Yes, I thought you knew. Be there at 12:30. Mom hates waiting." The meal was enjoyable, and the company more so. The surprises kept coming. JT, Bonnie's grandfather, was there too. After dinner, they went to the Florida room, which they now call a sunroom. After some small talk, Gwen asked how long Bonnie had known Hardy. "Since I was 3. His mom took care of me while my parents worked. I grew up with him and Peggy." "Have you ever had a crush on him?" "When I was 12, I had a big crush on him. He was tall, blonde, and handsome, and treated me like a princess. I was too young to know he was just being friendly. When he was 16 and started dating, I cried myself to sleep more than once. I followed him around like a puppy. One July day, Peggy and I were picking blackberries for a pie while Hardy dug holes for fence posts. We didn't see the snake until it bit my hand. It was a copperhead, a big one. Do you know what that is? Anyway, I screamed and waved my hand, and the snake came with it. I panicked, and Hardy tried to get the snake off me. He got it loose and told Peg to get me into the Gator, a small off-road vehicle. Hardy was only 15, so he didn't have a license. He had Peggy put me on the small truck bed. He was helping when he loosened his grip on the snake, and it bit him too. He needed both hands to hold me, so he put the snake in his mouth just behind its head. He still had it in his mouth when we raced down the main street of town, with a deputy sheriff and a city cop chasing us, sirens blaring. He drove the Gator right through the emergency room doors, spit the snake out, grabbed me, and screamed that I had been bitten by a copperhead. Peggy screamed that he had been bitten too. As soon as he handed me to a nurse, he collapsed. The local newspaper had heard about some kid driving crazily down the street. 2 photographers ran out and got pictures. It was on the front page the next day with a headline, "Snake bites man, man lives. Man bites snake, snake dies." It seems he literally bit the snake to death. If you go into my dad's office, you'll see a framed copy of the front page and the snake's skin. Dad was the deputy chasing us just before he became sheriff. So that's why my dad and granddad keep an eye on Hardy. He saved my life. When he got into big trouble, they did everything they could to keep him out of jail. I know you've seen his tattoo. He got it to remember the incident and not to panic in stressful situations. There was a long silence before Bonnie spoke again. He joined the Marines, and I didn't see him again until last year. Dad told me when you two got married, and all I could think of was what a lucky woman you were. I fell in love and got married. My husband was a doctor in the reserves. He was called up 5 years ago and never came home. He wasn't supposed to be in combat, but he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I need to tell you something. The night of the benefit, I stayed with Hardy. You guys were divorced, and I found I still had feelings for him. We spent several days together, but I realized the spark wasn't there. We agreed to stay friends. I'm still fond of him. He still loves you. I don't think he'll ever love another. Stop hesitating and get him back. He nearly died because of you. Make his pain worth it. Bonnie stopped talking and hugged Gwen for a few minutes. The ride home was spent in deep thought. The day finally came. Gwen stood in Hardy's doorway watching him pack. She had only one question. When? Tomorrow. I can't thank you enough, but it's time to stop imposing on you. You need to move on with your life. She was about to respond when she felt her dad hug her. Not now. Look at Melissa. Melissa stood behind her, quietly crying. Greg pulled her back into the hallway, giving Gwen and Hardy some privacy. You could stay, you know. He stiffened, still facing away. No, I can't. It would be too hard for both of us. Why? You know I love you. Everyone in Alabama knows I love you. And everyone in our family, which is probably half the state, knows you love me. Give up, honey. I'm never going to stop trying, not even if you threaten to leave. I'll follow you until you realize no one will love you more than me. Think about it. She turned and left the room. If she had looked at Hardy, she would have seen his tears. Gwen had a plan, a sneaky plan. It might not be legal, but it was a plan. She still made sure he took his medicine, and that evening she put a little extra in his water. It was a piece of the sedative he had taken when he couldn't sleep due to pain. It was very strong. She had her dad take Melissa out to a movie and late dinner. Mrs. Hendricks had gone home for the day, leaving them alone in the house. She tied his arms and legs to the bed with his ties. She lit candles and put on a special outfit. Hardy woke up feeling oddly happy. Then Gwen moved and put her hand on his chest, hugging him lightly. Good morning, my love. Did you sleep as well as I did? It's the best sleep I've had in over 3 years. He gently touched her hair. Like a rock. You wore me out. I'm still not quite back to my old self. He was reaching down when the door banged open and Melissa jumped into the bed. Gwen shrieked and covered herself. Melissa rolled her eyes. Good morning, parents. Mrs. Hendricks says breakfast is cold and she has errands to run. One of you has to take me to school. And Mom, if you cared about modesty, you should have closed the door last night. I'll probably be scarred for life. She tried not to laugh as they both turned red. So hurry up. Get your showers, and I don't mean together. I don't want to be late because my parents were in the bathroom. She left before Gwen could scold her. Hardy started laughing, and soon she joined him. She got serious. Better get used to this. What? Our kids barging in on us at the wrong times. How many kids are we talking about here? This house has 5 bedrooms. You know I hate to waste space. 4? How long will that take? We're getting older, you know. She playfully hit his arm. Speak for yourself. But we should start soon. I don't want you changing diapers in your 50s. They shared a magical look and reached for each other when Melissa barged back in. Do I need to hose you down? Mom, give me your keys. I'll see you this afternoon. Young lady, you are not driving my car. I'll take you, and we're going to have a long talk about respect and privacy. I guess this is a bad time to say I told Aunt Daisy you were back together. She wants you over at her house as soon as possible. Something in Gwen's eyes warned her she had gone too far. She fled the room. Melissa Sue Wilkes, get back here right now. They heard the front door slam and her yelling something about waiting in the car. Hardy held her, grinning. Don't worry, she's just happy. You know this Facebook generation, they share everything fast. Facebook? Oh no. She has a lot of family on there. Even the old ones will hear about it soon. She noticed his eyes changing. Regrets already? No, honey, no. I just wanted more time for us to get to know each other again. It's been 3 years. We're different now. I just wanted some quiet time with you, that's all. Don't worry. I'll just tell everyone you tied me down to keep me. That'll stop them talking. Gwen almost fainted. Please don't tell anyone about last night. I'm kind of ashamed, but I was desperate. It got you back, so I don't regret it. Don't worry, Gwen, I won't tell. Think of the damage to my reputation. Your reputation is just smoke and mirrors. You're a good man pretending to be a rogue. Besides, being with the most dangerous man in town is good for my image. Now I need to get going or Melissa will be late. She dashed out while Hardy ate a big breakfast. Mrs. Hendricks was pleased her cooking was appreciated. Greg came in and got a cup of coffee, sitting across from Hardy, grinning. Say it. Say what, Hardy? That I told you so. That you were right. He laughed. I don't have to, you just did. Welcome back to the family. Huh? Welcome back. It was close for a while, but they liked Gwen a lot more than they liked you. If you hadn't straightened up, you were out. They almost had a bet on how long you'd last. I'm glad we didn't. I would have lost. I thought you wouldn't give in so easily. Well, I'm glad I could entertain you all this much. Oh, don't get upset. One of your cousins will mess up soon and we'll have something else to talk about. I think I know what that will be, but I'm not telling you. You'll find out soon enough. Gwen felt nervous, like she was heading to a trial. Marcus opened the door and gave her a big hug and a kiss on the cheek. Congratulations. She rolled her eyes. Does everyone know? Aunt Daisy approached them, tapping her cane on the floor to get attention. Marcus, if you're done hugging your cousin, please shut the door. No manners at all. Come on, girl, we have things to discuss. They entered the parlor, a formal room rarely used. Gwen's stomach dropped. This must be serious. She sat at a small table covered with books. Hurry up, girl. We don't have all day. Aunt Daisy didn't mention Hardy at all for the next 90 minutes. Instead, she talked about something else entirely. Gwen Marie, this year we're hosting the commemorative ball. I can't believe it's been 10 years already. You are the official hostess, so you have a lot to do in the next few months. What? What poor communication. Are you sure you're a lawyer? The commemorative ball of the Daughters of the Confederacy, girl? It's the biggest social event in Birmingham, at least for the older distinguished folks. Invitation only, with full costumes. If a man has been in the military, he must wear a uniform reflecting an ancestor's rank. The higher the better. We have it every 2 years, and combine it with the coming out of our young ladies 16 and older. Melissa Sue will represent us. Any questions? A lot. I thought we were going to talk about Hardy and me. Also, I'm not even a member of the Daughters, am I? Why would I talk about you and Hardy when we have more important things? You got him back. Good for you. I always knew you would. Now let's focus. Yes, you're a member. Have been since last year. You're welcome. For the next hour, Aunt Daisy overwhelmed Gwen with details. What was expected of her as hostess, what clothes were required, and that she had to pay for most of it. Many members had no money left, only a proud history. Gwen was expected to discreetly ask around and fund as many members as possible. Daisy, Hildy, and 2 other women would help with that part. Gwen would also have decorating, catering, and entertainment committees. Marcus would be the historical consultant for proper dress. Basically, she had to settle arguments and write checks. Think you can handle it, girl? Gwen smiled wryly. Do I have a choice? No. All right, then. When do we start and what's the timeline? 5 months, no time to waste, lots to do, you know. Aunt Daisy was very excited, more than ever before. Look here, girl. This is what you're supposed to look like. The woman in the picture was absolutely beautiful. She held a parasol, wore a shawl around her shoulders, and a magnificent dress with petticoats and a hoop. Beside her stood another beautiful younger woman. They're so beautiful. Why do they look familiar? Aunt Daisy laughed. Because the older one is your grandmother, and the younger one is me. I told you, except for the hair color, you look just like her. I'm sure you'll outshine us both. Hardy will be so proud. That was us. I won't tell you the year. Look at this. There was a painting on the wall, covered ever since Gwen had been coming to Aunt Daisy's house. Aunt Daisy lifted the cover. It was a portrait based on the photograph. The women seemed to glow. Daisy sighed. This is my favorite family portrait. I covered it the day Ginny died. I'm commissioning one of you and Melissa to hang next to it. When I pass, you will get them all. You're rich, so Marcus and a few deserving family members will get my money. But you will inherit this house and all its contents. Marcus knows and approves. Even if you never live here, keep it in the family. 9 generations of our family have lived here. I won't rest if it goes to strangers. Promise me, Gwen, please. Gwen took her hands. I swear, beloved Aunt Daisy, that as long as I live, it will stay in the family as a loving tribute to you. For the first time ever, Aunt Daisy cried. It seemed to embarrass her. Gwen hugged her until she stopped crying. Finally, Aunt Daisy pushed her away. Look at me, acting like a sentimental old fool. You must think I've lost my mind. Gwen folded her back into her arms. Please hush, Aunt Daisy, and just let me love you for a moment. Please. Daisy gave in. It had been years since anyone held her with so much love. She finally pushed Gwen away. Go home now, child. You have a good man and a good child waiting for you. You have no idea how lucky you are. We'll talk tomorrow. Lots to do, you know. Shoo! Daisy sat and stared at the portrait for a long time after Gwen left, remembering better days. When Gwen got home, she hugged Melissa, Hardy, and Greg without saying a word. Soon she was busy with the tasks of hosting and funding the ball. Some older members didn't like the idea of a northerner in charge, but when Aunt Daisy showed them her family's long history, they accepted her. When they realized that making her angry would cancel the event, they got serious. Hardy and the guys picked to be escorts got a big surprise. The dance would feature traditional dances from the late 1700s and early 1800s, and they had to know and perform them well. Teachers were arranged, and practice sessions were set up. They practiced dances like the Viennese waltz, the Virginia reel, the parade, and the polka because those were the popular ones back then. This made things interesting for the younger folks. They had to get dates early to make the practice sessions. This led to a lot of dates, phone calls, and text messages. Melissa got 19 invitations. Gwen talked to her about it since she hadn't accepted any and wanted to know why. Most of these guys are just trying to suck up. They don't want to go with me. They just want to go with the rich girl. I know I'm only 17, but Pleasant Hill is full of people with big plans. Parents here push their kids to make lifelong commitments, and it's not about love, it's about marrying well. Don't you like any of the boys at school? A few. Believe it or not, most are scared of who I am. Heir to the Howes and Canadas with Hardy Wilkes as my father figure, they're terrified. Some are just shy. I really like one boy, but he doesn't know I exist. Gwen laughed. Honey, as pretty as you are, every boy in Birmingham knows you exist. This is your night and your choice, so ask him. Don't wait. That's not how it's done. Maybe not in 1850, but things have changed. Women have more power now. Ask him. The worst he can say is no. Hardy didn't come after me. I had to practically drag him to the altar. Gwen and Hardy were taking things slow, dating casually. They often said they loved each other, but Hardy hadn't brought up marriage. Gwen didn't want to push him and mess things up. Still, sometimes she wondered. Melissa built up her courage and walked up to the boy she liked. Jimmy, I'm having some friends over to my house for a pool party Saturday. Do you want to come? James Gregory Madsen almost fainted. Melissa had been his dream girl since her first day at the academy. He had watched her grow from a shy girl into a confident young woman. He was so nervous that he almost couldn't talk. What? Pool party this Saturday, my house. Be there at 3, okay? My mom and dad like to meet my new friends. He heard enough about Hardy Wilkes to be scared. His dad was a defense lawyer and had told stories about how tough Gwen could be. Yeah, sure, I guess. Great. We're gonna grill later, have a fire, and roast marshmallows. See you then. And then she was gone, leaving behind a hint of perfume. His friend stood there, mouth wide open. Wow. Melissa Wilkes. I believe in miracles now. I'm not going. Are you crazy? The Queen of Pleasant Hill invites you to her home, and you're not going? I'm not in her league. Nobody is in her league. Say you're going, or I'll make you. Big talk from someone half my size. I mean it. I'll knock you out and leave you on their lawn if I have to. Go! I'll think about it. When Jimmy mentioned to his parents that he might go to a pool party on Saturday, they seemed only mildly interested. That's nice, his mom said. Do we know the family? Maybe. Melissa Sue Wilkes invited me. Dad, I think you know her mom, Gwen. His dad almost choked on his tea and his mom nearly dropped a dish. Gwen Cannaday Wilkes? Ex-wife of Hardy Wilkes? Isn't she the rich lady from up north who moved here a few years ago? That's her mom. So can I go? His mom was almost drooling, thinking of all the opportunities this could bring. His dad laughed. Go on, son, have fun, but if that girl is as tough as her mom, you'll end up saying yes, dear, a lot. Jimmy was good-looking, but too shy to see it. Tall, with black hair and blue eyes. He ran cross-country and played basketball, so he was in great shape. Many of the girls at school thought he might be gay because he rarely dated. The truth was, he just didn't know how to act around girls. At 2:45 on Saturday afternoon, he was ringing the doorbell of the Wilkes house. Gwen answered the door. Hi, Mrs. Wilkes. I'm Jimmy Madsen. Before he could say more, Gwen was shaking his hand. It's good to meet you, Jimmy. Melissa speaks highly of you. I know your father, a fine lawyer. Give him my best. Please come in. She called out, and a tall man appeared beside her. Jimmy, this is Mr. Wilkes. He held out his hand, and Jimmy got a firm handshake. Welcome, Jimmy. Any friend of our little girl is a friend of ours. Melissa is out by the pool. Why don't you join her? We'll be out later. Gwen felt a thrill when Hardy said, our little girl. But she soon had other worries. 30 teens need a lot of attention. Most of the teens knew the rules. If it was just a few girls, they could wear what they wanted, and Gwen had seen some tiny swimsuits before. If boys were there, swimsuits had to be more modest. Gwen had even sent a girl or two home to change. She was glad to see that even though they were bikinis, they were modest ones. Small groups formed, drifted apart, and reformed. Melissa tightly held Jimmy's hand, leading him around. He was really nervous at first, but after a bit he started to relax. Some people looked at them with envy, and some were not happy. 5 boys had asked Melissa to the dance, and she had said no to all of them. Gwen knew a lot about teenagers, so she watched everyone closely. She knew there would be some hand-holding and quick kisses, and that was okay. Anything more wasn't allowed. Once, she caught a couple in the pool house. The boy had already taken off the girl's top. They were banned from the house after that. Afterward, there were no more problems. Gwen knew many teens were sexually active and often worried about Melissa. Gwen had talked with Melissa about SEC soon after she moved in. No one had explained it to Melissa before, and she cried a few times during the talk. She promised Gwen she would talk to her if she had any urges and agreed she was too young for it now. Melissa was still growing emotionally because of her past. Gwen wanted her to mature a bit more before even considering such things. Gwen remembered her own past and knew if Melissa really wanted to make love, there was little she could do to stop her. So far, Gwen thought Melissa was still a virgin. But who knows? It all came down to trust, and Melissa had never given her a reason not to trust her. The party was a big hit. The boys calmed down when Hardy came out to start the grill. He didn't say much but was nice, so they felt comfortable. Melissa and Jimmy were now officially a couple. You could see that Jimmy was really into her and Melissa was happy. Gwen held Hardy's hand as they watched. She had tears in her eyes. She's growing up, honey. Soon she'll be gone, off to college, starting her own life. I wish I had gotten her earlier, I wish. She dropped his hand and quickly went inside, leaving Hardy confused. Gwen had been more emotional lately. Was she having second thoughts? He'd be heartbroken if after everything she decided she didn't want to be with him. She came back a few minutes later, her eyes dry. She took his hand again. Sorry, honey, just feeling sentimental. Don't they make a cute couple? He couldn't help but smile. Yes, they do. That boy has no chance. When a Wilkes woman wants something, nothing can stop her, not even the fires of hell. I know this firsthand. She squeezed his hand and kissed him, promising more later. Hey, behave there. Is this the example you want us to follow? All right, here. Melissa grabbed Jimmy and gave him a quick kiss. Hardy thought Jimmy might faint. Get used to it, son. You're with a Wilkes now, and no man has figured out how to handle them. I've been trying for years. Both Melissa and Gwen smiled with pride. Jimmy just beamed. Dad, watch the grill, something might be burning. He gave everyone a quick kiss. You're right, something is heating up. He turned back to the grill while the kids who saw everything giggled. Gwen took Melissa inside for a moment. They came back with trays of food. The tables were set, and soon the hungry teens were devouring everything like burgers and hot dogs as fast as Hardy could grill them. The girls helped gather the dishes, and the boys cleaned up the mess. As it got dark and a bit cool, everyone changed into jeans and t-shirts while Gwen and Hardy lit the fires. They had bought 4 portable fire pits and set them up in the yard. The sweet smell of cherry wood filled the air, and there were marshmallows, chocolate, and graham crackers, along with other snacks. Melissa made sure to join every group, with Jimmy by her side. Hardy and Gwen sat in the shadows watching. Some couples snuck away for quick kisses, but returned quickly to follow the rules. Melissa and Jimmy came by, and she gave a quick wave. Did they let go of each other long enough to eat? Gwen laughed. Just barely. I think they wanted something else. Gwen watched as Melissa pulled Jimmy behind a big oak tree. They came back to the fire 2 minutes later, and Jimmy was all smiles. Melissa left him long enough to thank Gwen for her advice. She seemed happy with her date for the dance. By 10, everyone was gone except Jimmy. He could stay until 11 to help clean up. He offered to help, but they told him they'd handle it. What do you think they're doing now? Asked Hardy as he took the last trash bag to the bin. If I had to guess, they're probably just making sure they still have their tonsils, Gwen said, laughing. Come over here, honey. I want to show you something behind this oak tree. Greg was still around and seemed in no hurry to go back to Boston. When Hardy got shot, Greg took time off work and came down right away. Lately, he had been going for long drives and even overnight trips. After knowing Hardy would survive, he decided to visit Roy unexpectedly. Know who I am? Roy nodded. Is there something I can help you with? I hope so. I need to find Ronnie Wilkes. Roy's eyes got serious. Don't worry about it. It's a family matter. We'll handle it. Greg got angry. He almost got my daughter killed. Hardy is like a son to me, and now he's in a hospital bed, shot up. They are my family too, so it is my business. Now, will you help me, or do I need to get someone outside the family? Greg asked, his voice filled with anger. Roy and Harry, who were there, could feel the intense energy coming from Greg. The man was furious. No offense meant, Greg. We're just used to dealing with things on our own, Roy replied cautiously. I understand, but anything you need, you let me know. Money? There's no limit. Legal help from the best lawyers if you need it. Just one thing I ask. Let me be there when you catch him, okay? Promise me that, Greg said. Feeling like he was making a risky deal, Roy shook Greg's hand. Greg handed him a gym bag. When Roy opened it, his eyes widened. It was filled with cash. $200,000. If you need more, I'll give it to you. Use it as you need, and if there's any left after we find him, keep it. Now get moving, Greg said, walking out without looking back. Roy and Harry exchanged glances. Harry shivered. I'm glad he's not angry with me. Roy put out a reward, big enough to get attention. Will Robb heard about it and hoped to be the first to find the guy. He knew what would happen if he didn't. Roy won the search. A young cousin found the car behind an old, run-down house. Greg, Roy, and 6 tough guys from the crew waited until midnight. They moved quietly through the shrubs. Greg moved like he had done this many times before. Ronnie was sleeping on a worn-out sofa when they burst in. He didn't even get a chance to react. Roy started beating him until the others pulled him off. Greg took control. "Tie him up and then leave. I'll handle this." Roy began to argue about family honor. He stopped when Greg suddenly held a combat knife to his throat. "Listen, Roy, I said I'd handle it. I paid for him. Leave 2 guys here and go home. We're all family now, Roy. Please," Greg insisted. Roy left his 2 toughest cousins. The look in Greg's eyes when he left scared him. "Wait outside," Greg told the 2 men left behind. "This will take a little while." Ronnie woke up and saw a man he didn't know staring at him. The man looked like he worked in an office. Ronnie felt a bit of relief, thinking he wasn't going to die. A small fire burned in an old stove, even though it was warm. The man smiled. "Good, you're awake. Let me introduce myself. I'm Greg Cannaday, the father of the woman you betrayed to the Escobars and father-in-law of Hardy Wilkes, the man you tried to kill. Hardy almost died, but he's too tough for that. I thought about waiting until Hardy could deal with you, but I don't have that kind of patience." Ronnie started to feel really scared. Greg turned back to stoking the fire. When the flames leaped up, he continued speaking. "Let me tell you about myself. I was born rich and got richer. My dad didn't want me to be weak, so he sent me to a tough military school. I learned to defend myself quickly. It also taught me how people think here." Greg paused, reminiscing. "I love that place and support it generously now. My family has fought in every war since the Revolution. I went straight from school into the army where I did terrible things." He paused, remembering darker times. "I ran a special crew. It was brutal work. I swore never to hurt anyone again, but you forced me to break that promise. You're going to die tonight, Ronnie. It won't be quick or painless. You can scream, but if it gets too much, I'll cut your tongue out. You ready?" Before Ronnie could say anything, Greg pulled the knife heated from the fire and pressed it to Ronnie's cheek. The skin burned immediately, and a terrible smell filled the air. Ronnie screamed, making one of the cousins outside jump up. The other cousin pulled him back. "Better leave it be." Half an hour and many screams later, it went silent. Greg came to the door, holding blood-soaked clothes. "Clean up, will you? And tell no one. If you do and I find out, I'll be very unhappy," he said as he disappeared into the night. The youngest cousin went inside and quickly ran back out, throwing up. The older one walked in slowly and was shocked at what he saw. Ronnie, or what was left of him, was slumped on the floor. A knife was stabbed into the wall above his head with a tongue hanging from it. They never spoke about what they saw, only telling Roy it was done. At future family gatherings, they avoided Greg completely. Gwen was busy getting ready for the catillon. Greg would show up and then disappear with a strange smile. Melissa was experiencing young love, so Greg had some free time. Jimmy was now a familiar face at the house. He and Hardy practiced dancing with Gwen and Melissa. Jimmy wanted to make sure he didn't embarrass Gwen, and Hardy just enjoyed dancing. It was also great exercise. Hardy's body was almost fully healed. He started spending time at the farm, taking care of things that were neglected when Joshua got sick. There was always a younger cousin nearby while Hildy was away. She seemed to be gone a lot lately, but Hardy didn't think it was his business. She seemed happier now than ever before. Hardy secretly hired 2 younger female cousins to make sure Hildy wasn't taking on too much work and to help with Sunday dinners. The gatherings grew bigger, reaching about 50 people, so they had to move the dinners outdoors. Hardy built a shelter that could hold around 100 people and even included a kitchen. They spent a lot of time looking at the cattle Hardy bought. Though he only had 5 cows and a bull, he had big plans. The cows were Scottish Highland cattle, small and shaggy. Hardy loved their appearance. Greg found them during a drive in Tennessee and couldn't stop talking about how great they looked. Hardy looked them up online and persuaded the whole family to go see them. Gwen thought they were cute but stayed back because she was still a city girl. Melissa and Jimmy jumped right in, petting the cows with permission from the owner. He didn't have any for sale but gave Hardy a few contacts. 3 weeks later, Hardy bought 2 cows from Tennessee, 2 from Arkansas, and a bull from Georgia. When they arrived, it was like Christmas for him. Joshua's reaction was the best surprise. It was the first thing that excited him since his surgery. He spent every day with the cattle, turning them into pets. At his call, they would run to the fence for attention. He was thrilled when the first calf was born. Greg gave Joshua a computer. At 82, Joshua learned to use it and started talking with other cattle owners online. Soon, visitors would come over, usually for Sunday dinners, and talk about cattle until everyone knew too much about cows. Greg shocked the family by buying a farm nearby, saying it was just an investment. Hildy oversaw the remodeling of the house, and Greg then bought 10 Highland cattle, asking Josh to look after them. The catillon was fast approaching. Gwen sometimes felt overwhelmed, even with help. It was held at an old plantation outside town. The plantation was now used for weddings, corporate events, and parties. The main attraction was the ballroom, which could hold 300 people. So far, 240 people confirmed they were coming. About half needed financial help, and Daisy quietly covered the costs, mostly out of kindness for old friends. Though she never mentioned it, she believed this would be her last cotillion and wanted it to be special. The tailors worked hard to make sure the suits and dresses were ready. There were strict dress rules. The debutantes could wear white, ivory, yellow, light pink, or light blue. The older women could wear darker colors like red, blue, green, or gold. Widows were encouraged to wear black. 2 weeks before the event, Gwen went for her final dress fitting. She was shocked when the seamstress said the dress needed to be let out a bit. She knew her eating habits were off and she hadn't been exercising much, but she thought she had lost weight. She decided to take better care of herself after the event. The next morning, she woke up feeling sick and barely made it to the bathroom. She had to go to the plantation for a rehearsal, so she took some antacid and picked up Aunt Daisy. Still feeling queasy, she managed to get through the meetings. On the drive back, she had to pull over. Daisy insisted she see a doctor, saying she couldn't get sick with the cotillion so close. Daisy called a doctor who was waiting when they arrived at her house. Who makes house calls anymore? Gwen thought as he took her temperature and blood pressure. He asked her questions and then started to smile. "Please come to my office tomorrow, Mrs. Wilkes. I need to run a few tests." Daisy was worried. "Tests? What do you think is wrong with her?" "I don't think anything is wrong that a little time won't fix." "How much time?" "We have an important event in a few days. Will she be okay?" "Oh, she will be fine for the event, and the time frame is about 7 to 8 more months." He looked into Gwen's worried eyes. "I believe you're going to be a mother. When was your last period?" "Almost 2 weeks ago, but I've been irregular, especially when stressed." The meaning of his words hit her. "Oh my God, I'm having a baby!" She fell onto the sofa crying. Daisy hugged her, crying too. "Hardy will be so happy. I wish I could see his face when you tell him." "What about Hardy? I love him. He loves me. But he hasn't talked about getting remarried. I've been too afraid to ask." "Tell him it's time to stop messing around and be a man. I'm sure he will do what's right." "No, I want him to marry me because he wants to, not because he feels he has to. What a mess." She lowered her head, sobbing again. Daisy cleared her throat. "Well, you could always handle it quietly. He would never know." "Handle it? You mean an abortion?" "No. Even if he doesn't want it, even if he leaves me, this baby will be born." Daisy patted her hand. "Good girl. Now calm down and think of a way to tell him." Hardy noticed Gwen was quieter than usual that night. He figured she was thinking about the upcoming event. He mentioned his costume was ready. She said hers was too. They agreed not to show them to each other until the event, hoping they would both be surprised. But Hardy saw her watching him now and then. Hardy had been thinking a lot about marriage lately. He wanted to propose at the perfect place and time, and he decided to do it at the cotillion. It would be a magical night. Nobody knew, but he had his own surprises planned for that night. Finally, the night arrived. Gwen had also been thinking a lot. She decided to tell him afterward that she was pregnant. That way, even if he reacted badly, she would still have good memories of the cotillion. Gwen, Daisy, Hildy, and Melissa got dressed at Daisy's place, not wanting the men to see them until the last minute. Hardy, Greg, and Jimmy dressed at their house, called for the limo, and soon arrived. Daisy opened the door and showed the men into the parlor, leaving the door open for a clear view of the stairs. Daisy got their attention. "Gentlemen, Miss Melissa Sue Wilkes." She floated down the stairs like a dream. She wore a pale yellow dress with bare shoulders and a ribboned cameo around her neck. Her hair fell in loose curls around her face, with matching ribbons woven through. Jimmy almost fainted. He wore a planter's suit from that era, a frock coat, laced collar, and high boots. "Miss Hildy, Baker. Hildy wore a medium red satin gown, white lace gloves, and a lacquered comb holding an elaborate hairstyle. Red satin slippers adorned her feet. She also seemed to float as she moved. A double strand of pearls wound around her neck. Greg grinned ear to ear. He was her escort for the night, wearing the uniform of a Union captain. There had been a serious discussion about the uniform, but Greg insisted he wouldn't go without it. Finally, the committee allowed it as a gesture of reconciliation. Daisy waited a full 5 minutes before announcing Gwen, Mrs. Gwen Marie Wilkes. Gwen wore a shimmering gold gown with layers of lace and silk, along with matching gloves. A single diamond glittered at her throat, thanks to Daisy. A simple lace shawl framed her bare shoulders. Her blonde hair was styled in a semi-bun. Hardy couldn't even remember breathing. He would have sworn she never touched the steps as she came down. Hardy wore the uniform of a major from the 1st Alabama, authentic in every detail, complete with sash and saber. Gwen had convinced him to grow his beard back just for this event. The men each gave their ladies a single red rose and kissed their cheeks lightly so they wouldn't disturb the makeup. They also gave Daisy a rose each, yellow, white, and red. They kissed her cheek, too. Daisy's eyes glowed with more emotion than Gwen had ever seen. She wasn't going to travel with them. She had her own escort. She teased Gwen by not revealing who it was. When the limo pulled into the plantation drive, it stopped in a designated area where 4 carriages were waiting. The carriages were polished and shiny, and the horses were well-groomed and adorned. "What's this?" Melissa cried excitedly. "This is my contribution to the festivities," Hardy said. "Jimmy, Greg, will Rob when he arrives, and I will escort each guest to the front steps of the mansion and inside. You ladies and Aunt Daisy will greet them as they enter. Go on. We'll be there when the last guest arrives." Hardy had also hired photographers and videographers to capture the event. As official hostesses, they arrived an hour early. Soon, carriages started coming through the gates. Everyone wanted to arrive in style, so no one drove. Gwen, Melissa, Hildy, and Daisy welcomed everyone, urging them to try the finger foods offered by servants dressed in clothes from the mid-1800s. The orchestra was tuning up, and the festivities would begin soon. The guests mingled, seeing and being seen. There was a parlor where the adult ladies could get stronger drinks than those offered in the ballroom, and a drawing room for the gentlemen. For some reason, Gwen wasn't drinking, and Hardy decided maybe he should do the same. They circulated for 45 minutes, keeping an eye on the youngsters. Suddenly, there were 2 loud knocks at the head of the stairs. It was Marcus, dressed in period clothing, holding a large cane. He had a small, almost hidden headset on. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice echoed and boomed all over the ballroom, thanks to a discreet PA system. "In the time-honored tradition of your ancestors, it is time for the presentations. Dancing will commence shortly afterward. Places, please. We will begin in exactly 5 minutes." The presentations were for the younger women to be formally introduced to the elite of local society. Afterward, each couple would go up a back stair, be introduced, and then proceed down the main stair into the ballroom to appropriate applause. The hostess and her family were always presented last. It was said that your ranking in society was revealed by the order of presentation, with the most important going last. The girls were presented first. Marcus would knock his cane twice for attention and then announce them. Melissa was the last one. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Miss Melissa Sue Wilkes, escorted tonight by Master James Madsen." Melissa remembered the night for the rest of her life. Years later, she told her kids she finally knew how Cinderella must have felt. The adults started coming in, with couples gracefully walking down the stairs to polite clapping. The end of the event was getting closer, leading up to the dancing. Hildy and Greg were to be introduced, then Daisy and her date, and finally Gwen with Hardy. Hardy noticed Gwen acting oddly, and she thought he looked as shaky as a cat in a room full of dogs. The curtain opened and Hildy and Greg stepped out. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Greg Cannaday," Gwen exclaimed. "What?" Greg looked back with a big grin as the curtain closed. "We got married last weekend." Daisy stood there smiling. Hildy had told her earlier in the week, making her promise not to spoil the surprise. Gwen got another shock when Aunt Daisy stepped up to the curtain with her date. "Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Daisy Howe, escorted by Mr. Joshua Hardy." Daisy wore a black dress with lace and red trim and a red shawl. Josh wore a sergeant's uniform to honor an ancestor who had won a Medal of Honor. Everyone knew she wouldn't see another cotillion, and their applause showed their love for her. Gwen and Hardy stepped up to the curtain. Hardy arranged for Marcus to hold the curtain for a moment longer. He squeezed her hand, then got down on one knee. "Gwen, I've tried to find the right words to express my love, but words fail me. Just know, I never want to spend another night away from you. My love, my woman, my wife. Will you marry me again?" Gwen looked into his eyes, blurted out, "I'm pregnant," and like Southern belles have done for centuries, fainted on the spot. Marcus thought he heard the signal, knocked twice, and announced them. "Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Mr. and Mrs. Hardy Wilkes." The curtain opened to show Hardy on one knee with an unconscious Gwen. There was a collective gasp from the ballroom, and Marcus quickly closed the curtain. 2 doctors in the crowd rushed to help. Gwen woke up in Hardy's arms while he was still on his knees. When she realized what happened, she kissed him over and over, stopping now and then to say she loved him. The doctors smiled when they arrived and said she was fine to continue the event. They finally got to make their grand entrance, and the reason for the delay spread around the ballroom instantly. When the curtains opened, the applause went on for 3 minutes. Melissa and Hildy met them at the foot of the stairs. Melissa made a small fist pump and said, "You go, Mom," then patted her stomach. "And you too, little brother or sister." Daisy, Gwen, Hildy, and Melissa hugged in a group, crying. Even Daisy. They all went to the powder room to fix their makeup. The cotillion turned into a family celebration for the Wilkes-Canaday clan. The doctor reassured them it was all right, so they danced all night. But at midnight, the ball ended. The younger crowd hurried to change into party clothes. As a gift for Melissa's 18th birthday, Hardy and Gwen had rented a small hall at the club and turned it into a dance club, complete with lights and a DJ. Hardy and Gwen were the official hosts and chaperones, along with 4 other couples. Hardy had rented rooms for them and booked the bridal suite for himself. Greg and Hildy were going home to their house, the renovated farmhouse. Joshua escorted Daisy home and spent the night there. It was the first time in over 30 years either had slept with someone else. The kids had a blast, keeping the dance floor packed until 2:30. Most had rooms reserved with their families, but a few, including Melissa, decided to go home. Gwen objected. "No one will be there. I hate to think you'll be alone." Melissa looked down, blushing. Mom, I won't be alone." Realization dawned, and Gwen gave a knowing look, understanding her daughter was no longer a child. "Be careful, honey. Promise me." "We will, Mom. I love you, and don't tell Dad, okay?" Gwen stood at the entrance, watching as Jimmy pulled up and opened the door for Melissa before heading back to the suite. As she walked, she absently rubbed her tummy, wondering how many more kids would grow up and leave her. And now we're back to the start of our story. The little girl finally got her hair braided and jumped into the arms of the man who had just entered. "Grandpa, is Grandma a Yankee?" He looked at her, the light of his life for 40 years, still a beautiful woman in his eyes. Well, she was, honey, but she got over it. Epilogue: Joshua died 18 months later, but not before he got to hold his great-grandsons, Joshua Hardy Wilkes and Gregory Canaday Wilkes. He said it was the proudest moment of his life. Yes, Gwen had twin boys the first time, followed by Annette Daisy Wilkes, named after Daisy and Hildy, whose real name was Annette. She never explained how she got the nickname Hildy. Daisy passed shortly after Joshua, but not before she hung the portrait of Gwen and Melissa beside the one of her and her sister Ginny. Marcus found her in a chair, facing the paintings. True to her feeling, she never attended another cotillion. Marcus became wealthy and married a girl he met in college. She was white, a Chapman, another cousin. They had 4 children. Gwen kept her house in good shape, letting the Daughters of the Confederacy use it as a meeting place. She would visit now and then, especially when she felt old or missed Daisy. She would sit under the portraits and remember the past. Greg and Hildy moved to Boston, but after one cold winter, they returned. Greg started raising Highland cows and became one of the best in the country. Hildy found a love for horses, and her Arabians were some of the finest. Greg passed away at 75. Hildy lived another 12 years, but she wasn't as happy as before. She said before she died that she felt at peace knowing Gwen had taken her place and that the family was in good hands. Gwen and Hardy lived in Birmingham for 8 years before they both retired to the farm. They stayed because Gwen served 2 terms as district attorney and 1 as a circuit court judge. It seemed Paul was right after all. JT passed away quietly. Will Robb joked that it was the first time JT ever did anything quietly. Will Robb retired after being sheriff for 2 more terms. He gave Gwen a framed news article and a tanned snakeskin as a gift. Allan Hovis was in jail for 3 years. He was part of a Hispanic gang and was found drowned with his head in a toilet. Vicente Escobar vanished during a cartel war. Rumors said he was living in Italy with his family, but no one ever saw him again. Ann Burnside retired with full honors. She married a beautiful woman named Victoria, and they own a resort in the Bahamas. Ann seems happy, though sometimes she daydreams when she sees a blonde couple at the resort. Melissa Sue Wilkes went to Alabama University and got her law degree from Harvard. Joshua joined the Army and made it his career. Greg studied law but became a Baptist minister instead. Annette Daisy had 2 bad marriages before finding a good man. They have been together for 10 years now. Roy made a mistake and ended up serving 10 years in prison. June Bugg graduated while Roy was locked up. Whenever his family needed help, a cousin was always there. Hardy and Gwen took care of their living costs until Roy got out. Now he is retired, gets a pension, and takes life easy. Hardy and Gwen? They love each other deeply and live in harmony. Gwen is the head of the family, always helping where she can. Many family members went to college thanks to secret scholarships and grants. Their Sunday dinners are famous. Hey audience, if you enjoyed this video and want to follow more exciting stories, be sure to subscribe to Prince Cheating Tales and hit the notification bell. Don't miss our upcoming adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next great story.